Hello everybody, this is the Retro Bear speaking to you once again from the control centre on the desert island, welcoming you to a brand new episode of Desert Island Games. Yes, episode 25 is a bit of a milestone, this one really. Yes, you and me both can't quite believe we got this far, but yes, we have 25 episodes of Desert Island Games. And yeah, another cracking guest lined up for you. If you've not heard this before, we take a YouTube and fellow gamer, asking them to bring 6 games onto their desert island, which could be games that they've absolute favourites, games that they just have an affinity with, games they feel comfortable with, that they'd like on a desert island. Along top of that, we asked them to bring along 2 other games. One, a second chance game perhaps if they've got to a certain point and can't get any further, or they played a little bit and couldn't get into, where a desert island scenario will give them the opportunity to get more into it, and just to make their life a little bit more uncomfortable right at the very end, a hated game they don't particularly like or enjoy, just because we want them to feel a little bit put out while they're there, and with the rule that they can't come to the desert island until they've played it. Along the way, we'll be talking about their system/console history and all interesting stories and tangents associated with that. So that's the introduction. Now let's get on to this week's strandee, as we like to call them. And yeah, I always say this. What can I say about this? Did my guest? Well, what can I say about my guest? I don't know. Somebody I've never actually met, but have probably been incredibly good chums with for a good couple of years now, and you know, one day it will happen. It nearly happened recently, but it didn't, so there we go. One of the nicest people on YouTube, and a man with such generosity. You know, one thing we are good here on YouTube. We are very generous to each other, but this man's generosity goes beyond all bounds. He's very well known for giving away games at 5 o'clock in the morning on WhatsApp as well, which is always really annoying. We'll talk about that a bit more as we go along. My guest this week, Retro Games Revived, but I should be calling him Sean because that's his name. Hello, Sean.
Hello, mate. It's good to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
No, thank you very much. And of course, I should have mentioned Sean's in the TNB with myself. He's been there since day one. Yeah, contrary to popular belief, it's just us. You know, it's not just us two doing the podcast at the moment, but that's how it is with work and things. But I'm you know, pleased to have you along. And yeah, it's been a couple of years now, isn't it? We've been following each other, and I would say
crazy, isn't it? It's crazy to think how time flies, and yeah, it is. Who would have thought it though? You know what I mean? It's weird because when I first started doing the YouTube, I never once in a million years thought that I'd end up in such a good community, you know, and in a little group, it's TMB group, and you know, it still baffles me to this day. Why I'm in there. I'm honoured to be in there, you know.
But it would have been the same without you. We told you that before. You know, it's just not the same without anybody doing these things, is it? It's good to be part of it. And you mentioned the word community there. I mean, I should mention, you know, people, you know, obviously refer to me as king of the community. You are king of the community news. We depend on you for all the latest hot gossip and what's going on YouTube and around.
But yeah, when I finally get around to producing them.
I mean, it is a great little video that you do it when you have the time to do it. We'll talk about that very, very briefly in a moment. But yeah. So you got your list all sorted and you're all ready to go. And
I have indeed, yes.
Are you happy with it?
I am. I must admit, I've swapped and changed a couple of times, and you know, and I thought, but what about this game? And but I've finally settled on the ones I believe hold the most, you know, not so much nostalgia, not always nostalgia, but hold a place in my heart. And there's a couple of games in there that do take me back, certainly back to my younger days. Which were a long time ago now.
No, they weren't that long ago. Surely you don't look a day over. Yeah. No, I've never used asked that question before. Are people happy with their choices? I don't know where that's come from. Actually, the first person I've ever asked that to. So there we go. Now, as we mentioned. Yeah. Oh, well, that's good. I mean, if people, you know, chop and change it, then that's great. They're giving it some thought. Then you spend more time doing it, and then you sit down and go, oh, maybe not. Maybe that one. If I ever get round to doing it, then I know I'll be doing the same anyway.
Yeah.
In the meantime, I did mention that you are on YouTube, which is
yes,
this great device that we've all seemed to have tapped into, and just a good way of just chucking stuff out. Is that something? Is that Joe in the background? Is this or
it's
is that the right?
Lorraine.
Oh, it's Lorraine.
we're all full of blooming cold.
Oh no! Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. You mentioned you were. Oh, this is spreading around the place. I thought she was just a airing of views. No, he hasn't thought about this copy. Or trying to give the answers. No. It's like who wants to be a millionaire, Oh dear. Anyway, I hope she feel better anyway soon. That's the main thing. Yes, I mentioned YouTube, and you have been on YouTube quite some time. So anybody who hasn't come across your channel before, and as always, there will be a link to Sean's channel below if you haven't come across him. God's sake, why not go across and have a look at it? But just give people who haven't seen you before a brief summarisation of what you do.
Well, I'm probably more of a variety show, really, because I've gone through that many different series on the channel that it's unbelievable, because I never actually stick to any of the series. I'll get like a few episodes in, and then I think of something else, and I move on to that, and I think that's a better idea. I've got all sorts. Pickups usually is, at least in the early days, that was one of the main videos that I did. Now I kind of evolved my channel, and I've now basically evolved my pickups onto my lockup show, which I incorporate the pickups, and I incorporate different segments of my lockup, and I'll show something that might be of interest, show some of my collections on. So that, and I put it all together as like a lockup show, because I found that was easier to work with, rather than doing a pickups video and then a separate collections video, etc. I've done a few live gameplay streams, mainly on Call of Duty. What else have I done? I've done like a couple of music videos.
Oh yes,
basically.
Yes.
I love my computer game music. Always have done. I've had a massive fascination for computer game music ever since the early days, and I've created some videos, basically like a jukebox of computer game music. If anything, Russ, honest to God, it's purely for my own benefit. When I'm doing my painting, I put them on, and I get into my computer game music mode. I love it, and I'm humming away, and I love it. Yeah, I'm happy as anything.
That's good. That's good.
And then obviously I do the community news, which it's been a bit sporadic, and I know I've told many people many times that it's purely the amount of work that goes into it. I've got to find things, I've got to find news, I've got to script it. The editing, that is a big part. All the titles and the grabbing the footage off people's channels.
Are those pictures you get with people's strange face expressions on them? We haven't. If anybody's seen those, we haven't posed for those deliberately. No. He's just screen capped them from videos.
I try and find the silliest face that I can on each person. Oh dear. It's all in good fun though.
That's it.
And everything on the news is all done in good fun, and it's. I'd like to think, even though it's news, I don't try and take anything serious with it. You're gonna have a laugh, aren't you?
Oh yeah, of course.
That's my philosophy.
You want to watch the real news? That's where the serious stuff is. This is the serious news. But
exactly.
But there are things on there which you bring to people's attention. So in a way, it is news. Yeah. But with a giant big sort of tickling stick attached to it, I suppose.
I mean, it's funny because even though something might be news at the time I'm writing it, by the time I've edited it, everybody knows about it. It's old news then,
but I mean,
people enjoy it, and that's the main thing.
That's it. And you said the amount of work that goes into it. I mean, for such a short video, which is maybe 10, 15 minutes long, people don't. I mean, this is why I'm at the other end of the scale. I just can't be bothered to. I thought, if I edited stuff, I probably would be, it'd be a lot slicker. But this is the whole joy of doing something like this: is you have a conversation with somebody, and everybody says something interesting or something that they would never usually talk about, or you move into an area which people wouldn't associate with that person. So I just leave everything in. and let people make their own minds up. It's no one sort of turned around so far and said, "Well, that was dull." They've always said, "Oh, it's always been interesting," and they've learned something new about people. So that's why these are so long. That's why they're over 3 hours long. I mean, of your channel, on your channel, your favourite series by far of mine. No, my favourite series of yours. It's been a long week. It's only Wednesday. My favourite series of yours is the Lock-Up Show. I think that is absolutely brilliant. I think you have nailed what a once a month video should be about. It's highlighting your pickups, highlighting your collections, highlighting hardware. It's just brilliant. It really is. I think it's a fantastic format. I really do. And I remember sitting there when I watched the first one, I thought, you've nailed this. You've absolutely nailed this.
It's just like little snapshots, each month of my collections, and I suppose in a way it's a bit like teasing, isn't it? Hopefully people are like, I wonder what else he's got, because it is like an Aladdin's cave in there. There's all sorts. And I can always find something to show and to talk about. But and my lockup is still evolving as it probably always will do for as long as I've got it.
That's it. Yeah.
And like I said, it'll always be slightly different in how it looks and that. So hopefully it'll still keep people entertained, even if I start running out of stuff to show.
I hope you carry on doing that, because I really love watching those. They are great. I will. Okay.
I'll just say that at the moment it's an absolute bomb site, because obviously my arcade cabinet's pretty much taking up a quarter of it, because I'm still in the process of painting it. And obviously I've had to free up a bit of room, which meant moving everything to one side. So I haven't been able to actually film another Lock-Up show recently because of that. But like I said, once I've I'm hoping at least towards the beginning of next year, that I've kind of got my arcade cabinet how I want it in place, put everything back, and we can carry on.
Fantastic. Brilliant. I look forward to that. That's a good way to start the new year. Of course, you do realise we're only like 4 weeks away from that now, so.
That's true.
You used to be trying to say that, it's at least 6 months away, and hang on, we were recording this on the 1st of December, so it's like, shit, there's like 3 weeks, 4 weeks to go before the end of the year. I better get on with this.
No, you've not said that. It doesn't seem a long time, does it?
Caught you out there. There we go. Oh, brilliant. Well, like I said, there'll be a link to your description in below. Go across and please go and have a look at Sean if you've not seen him before. And if you have seen him before and not aware, some other stuff on there, loads of different things on. Absolutely brilliant. Right then, my friend. So it's time to get your Desert Island games officially underway. I've got your list in front of me, and I always say this: there's some cracking games on here. There's games on here that we haven't had. I'm sure there's games on here that people have never even heard of before. because if it's a modern audience who listen to it, they may not be aware of some of the games we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
So let's start with your system history and how you got into becoming a gamer as such. So how did it all start for you? What was your first gaming experience or your first exposure to gaming?
My very first foray into computing was actually, it was Christmas. Not sure of which year. I'm not sure if it was the same year that this system was actually released or if it was like a year later. It was a long time ago, as you can imagine. And Christmas Day, got up, went downstairs, checked that the milk and the carrot had gone, so I knew Santa had been, and crept into the living room.
Was Santa on a diet that year? It's off the mince pies and onto the carrots.
We crept into the room. This was the same every year. And the funny thing was, my dad would go first, then there'd be me and my sister, and then my mum at back. And he'd open the living room door, and he'd flick the light on. And as soon as he flicked the light on, he'd turn around and he'd go, "Oh no, it's still here." And me and my sister used to shoot back upstairs. We were free and stiff of him of Santa for some reason. But and then obviously, he's been fantastic. And yeah, this particular year, we always had a main present. Every year we always had one main present and then, other smaller presents. And I opened my main present and it was a Spectrum 48K, the rubber keyboard version. And yeah, it was fantastic because it's weird because I never remember any adverts or anything like that, like you do nowadays. There's a lot of hype now for new consoles.
Yeah.
Whether there was back then, and I was just too young to notice it, I don't know. But back then, and I'm like, wow, look at this. What's this?
Had you any idea what it was at the time? Had you played?
I must have done. Because I was excited, getting it. Maybe I'd seen them in the local Dixon's or W.H. Smith's, perhaps, but yeah, I do know. Obviously, I must have known what it was, and God, I probably, knowing me, I probably couldn't have cared less about any of the other presents. I just wanted to get this Spectrum fired up. Eventually, we got it fired up. And we had, the tape recorder, we had the interface, we had a joystick, Kempston joystick, and had a couple of games. I think there were certain packing games, maybe survival, checkered flag, and the usual.
Oh yeah,
Horizon games on the Horizon.
People describe those as rare on eBay. They ain't rare.
No.
They're about as common as you can get. I haven't been collecting Spectrum games very long, and I've got 2 copies of Survival, Make a Chip, and Scaletrix. Yeah, I can make a house out of the amount of copies you buy on eBay. Goodness me.
Yeah. And we also got it was actually branded a St. Michael's brand, which a lot of people won't know, but it was a Marks and Spencer's brand or St. Michael's.
Yeah, that's right. It was.
And they had this game double pack. There were 2 games on there, Frozen Penguin and Fearless Frank. They entertained us for absolutely weeks, months. They really did. Simple, basic games, but back then, these were cutting edge stuff.
That's right.
Loved it. Yeah.
So how long did you have the Spectrum for then?
We must have had it a couple of years, I think. I know because, I mean, I had tons of games. Don't get me wrong, you know, there were loads of copies, a lot of C60 cassettes filled with games.
Oh,
But
yes, those are the days.
the reason I do know we had it quite a while, well, because my dad, I think it was every fortnight, he got us this magazine, Input, they called it. And it was basically a listings book. And it was, I suppose, in a way, it was to teach you how to program. And every week, you know, in every issue, there were loads of listings, different programs you could type in, run. Some even spanned over several issues of Input, you know, to create a better piece of software. Some of it were pretty basic stuff, like it'd be a virtual dice, so you just roll in two numbers, you know, and it created a dice. But yeah, that, I think there were a lot of issues of that. I think there were in total about 4 binders.
Oh, right. I've heard of it.
Quite pricey actually now on eBay. I did.
Are they?
I did once look, to looking about investing in it.
But a lot of people taking an interest. A lot of people taking an interest in that side of things now. They're going back, you know, stripping gaming back to its roots and trying to understand and collect these old magazines where you've got the code to input and see what it creates and learn from that.
Yeah.
So they can do, because obviously that you know, nowadays there is a homebrew scene. If people aren't aware of that, all these old systems we've talked about and we'll talk about across this episode and previous ones.
Yeah,
people are still bringing out games to these old systems because they've learned how to program for them.
Program, exactly. Yeah. I really wish I'd. Don't get me wrong. We programmed. Me and my dad would spend hours. He'd be, well, we'd take it in turns. He'd be shouting out, you know, the commands, and I'd be typing it in, you know, and we'd swap around. And we just used to run these programs. And looking back now, I wish I'd have actually learned what the code were doing, you know. It was just a case of just typing it in blindly and not taking any notice of what each line is actually doing. And I think the whole point of the magazine was to try and get you to do that. It did you know, describe what certain lines did. If I remember rightly, but yeah, it never actually sunk in, unfortunately, and that's one thing I do regret is not learning some kind of coding language, because in the later issues, it went from like basic to machine code. By that stage, me and my dad didn't have a clue, so we didn't end up programming that. The machine code games, which were a shame. You had to have some kind of. In fact, you had a listing for the program. I believe it was an assembler, they call them, and that assembled the machine code or the basic into machine code. I can't quite remember, but yeah, we never got that advanced with it. Me and my dad, we kind of just programmed in all the basic stuff. There's some decent stuff on there, you know, for what it was. But absolutely brilliant. It was spending time with my dad, you know, because my dad, bless him, is old school, you know. It's a case of, you know, you go out and play and get on with it.
I know.
You know, dads are there to do the job, provide money for food and that, and then go to pub. But so it was nice in that respect that he actually, you know, he took the time out to do that kind of thing with me, and play games as well. We did play a few games, and I've mentioned this before. We used to play Daily Thompson's Decathlon, and me and my dad, we didn't really use a joystick, the joystick waggling technique. We used the two keys, and we'd use just as two fingers, you know, as fast as we could. My dad was shit on that. It was the only game he could really beat me on, to be honest.
I think everybody had their own methods for doing that. I mean, you either got one of those joysticks that could actually had the suction cups underneath, and would sit on the desk. The desk, he'd like waggle away with it like that. Somebody at school I know came with the theory was you actually got one of these with the base, and you just like shook it around like that. Yes, so that however you did it, it was bloody knackered. There was no easy way of getting around it. I mean, you can try and do it slow and steady by just going like that. So you got a rhythm, which is what it's looking for. But even then, that was never quite right, and you find yourself actually getting more out of sequence. And
exactly.
They were, people said, gaming is no good for you. Honestly, the amount of gamers walking around with arms, which are massive. Your children, one giant arm and one small arm. That's pre-puberty, just in case people think I'm alluding to something else. That would only enhance the arm, surely. I don't know. Yeah, it was a bizarre way of doing it, because those sort of games don't exist now, do they? You don't know anything like that at all now.
They don't.
It's probably a good thing, to be honest with you, because it would finish most people of our age, Sean. That would finish us off. That would be it. If I'd have slumped over a 48k, having spent an insane joystick waggling session on Danny Thompson's Decathlon with the inscription on your tombstone, it's how he would have wanted to go. Oh dear. See, people like that nowadays. That's like an old thing, which is just never going to come back.
Yeah, so. No, it isn't. Yeah. I mean, even with, I suppose, a.k.a, they're not really going. Well, they are even television and Atari and stuff, but they're not. They're craftily not putting any of them kind of games on cartridges for obvious reasons. Fantastic. But I mean, we did have a joystick. Like I say, I think we had a Kempston, a blue Kempston, and it was a cracking joystick. It held up longer than the interface, actually. Well, the computer. Because unfortunately, something, if I'm not mistaken, a game froze on us at some point, and I forget the conversation that went on with me and my dad. But my dad were like, "Well, pull interface out and plug it back in," and it fried it. It absolutely fried the Spectrum. Yeah, basically, what happened was we pulled the interface out first, and a few random blocks of color came on TV on screen, and I'm like, oh. My dad said, try putting it back in. So we did, and even more blocks of colour came on screen.
That's not good.
It just won't work after that. Obviously turned Spectrum off, on many times. Absolutely nothing.
I think you're the first person to come on who's actually killed something like that.
Yeah.
But most people's systems get consigned to the bin or the tip or sold behind their back. But now you've actually broken one. I think you're the first person.
I mean, I'm sure my dad was like, well, what you done, son? I ain't done out. Well, you must have broke it in the first place. So, I know it'd be my fault.
Yeah. So did you get another one? Did you, or did you you move on to something else after that?
That does then lead me on to my second one.
Right. So you didn't go around. You didn't replace it. You actually you didn't buy a replacement for Spectrum. You bought something else.
No. Yeah. What happened was, my dad knew this guy who had a lot of stuff in his living room, which came off back of a lorry.
Why did everybody know something like that when they were younger and I didn't? Everybody knew a man, or somebody with something who can do this and get you games on a disc for £1 or a tape or a pile of hooky systems in his living room.
He used to get loads of VHS films, and we used to get many of them off him. But he did actually go to this bloke, and he asked for it. Have you got a Spectrum? Luckily, he didn't. At the time, I'm saying luckily, because don't get me wrong, I love my Spectrum. I was a massive fan of my Spectrum. But he says, no, I am, but I've got one of these. And it was a Commodore 64.
Oh, wow.
And my dad got it. He bought it for me, and he fetched it home after work one of the days. He says, oh, I'm really sorry, son, I can't get you another one. I can't get you another Spectrum. I'm like, oh, no. So he's got one of these instead. When I saw it, I was like, whoa, no way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's something else, isn't it? I can't get you one of those, but I'll got you something which is vastly superior.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry,
didn't have a clue. He didn't have a clue what relevance it had, particularly to me, because
I realise that comment might have offended quite a few of our listeners by saying that the Commodore 64 was vastly superior to the Spectrum, but that's only because my exposure to the Commodore 64 was around, as opposed to a Spectrum. So
yeah,
I sit on one fence rather than the other.
Yeah, the thing is, towards the end of the lifespan of my Spectrum, my best friend Kevin, he'd already got a Commodore 64, so I knew what the machine was capable of doing, and in my opinion at the time, looking at the colour of the graphics, even though David Retro Games played badly, says they're very brown.
He doesn't know anything. He won't come on here and admit that his favourite 6 games he'll be taking will be Commodore 64 games, and they'll all be Dizzy ones as well. He just doesn't want to come on here and admit it. There you go, David. There's a challenge now verbally, as opposed to writing it on every single comment that you leave in my videos when you're coming on. There's your challenge. Come on here and prove me wrong.
That's it. Yeah. But I was gobsmacked by my mate's Commodore, and I think towards back end we spent more time at his house playing on his Commodore 64, particularly Gyrus. I don't know if you've heard of that game, Ross.
I've heard of Gyrus. I don't think I've ever actually played it.
It's a shooter. Your spaceship goes around the edge of the screen. The enemy's flying towards the center of the screen and work the way out. But there's like full 360 rotation.
Yeah.
It is based on an arcade game, and the Commodore 64 version was really good. We played it from loads. We really did. And so obviously, like I said, my dad came home with this Commodore 64, and I was in love with that. And like I said, as much as I love my Spectrum, I did become, and still am really, a Commodore 64 fanboy. I collect Commodore 64 games, and the Commodore actually probably holds more nostalgia for me than the actual Spectrum, even though that was my first computer, purely because I reckon that once I got my Commodore, I don't think I ever went back out to play. BMX, we just sat in garage, full of cobwebs. But it used to drive me mum and dad by me. They go mad with me. For God's sake, will you get out and play? Do something outside. But no, I absolutely love my Commodore. Fantastic little machine. Obviously back then it was the bread bin style. And as far as I can remember, the Commodore never failed on me. I imagine I sold it at some point, or my mum and dad did, or whatever, when I got a newer system. But I played hours and hours on my Commodore. It's funny and all, and I hope my mum ain't listening because what I'm about to say is shocker.
Oh no.
Well, my best friend's dad, Kevin, his dad, he used to work at Pitt, and he worked nights. So on some school mornings, I'd pretend to go to school. But what we'd actually do is go into my mates and we'd be sat playing Commodore 64. At least until we knew what, well, my mate knew what time his dad got up. And then we kind of sneaked out before they got up and, and caught us. But yeah, I used to Skype school for that, mate. My mum, blessed her, didn't have a footage, she found out. But yeah, I just thought it was an amazing system, and I know, like any of the 8-bit systems, it had its fair share of crap arcade
of course
conversions.
It did, yeah, of course
it had some corkers. It really did. So yeah. I haven't really got much more to say on Commodore 64 because, like I said, everything just went swimmingly with it, you know.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want to talk about some of the games on your list? We got some. We've got three games from that era on your list, haven't we? I mean, it might be before we plough on with other bits and pieces. Do you want to talk about a couple of those games, or certainly two? We'll see how we get on with them. It just seems like an ideal point to do it. I know we talked about something different beforehand, but I thought we're in the right era, aren't we? So obviously you picked some games. So your first Desert Island games from this era.
From this era, I'll start from the Spectrum.
Yeah.
And one of my first game that I'm going to choose for the Desert Island is it's an old classic. And probably one of the most famous platformers on the Spectrum, and it's Manic Miner.
Manic Miner, that's really going back into it, that one.
Yeah. It was written by Matthew Smith, I believe.
Yep.
Who then went on to do the Jet Set Willies. But yeah, Manic Miner. It's a platform game, side-on platform game. You control Miner Willie, and it's a split-screen platform, single-screen platformer, and the premise is to collect all the keys on each level. Once you've collected all the keys, it then opens up a little exit box, if you like, in the corner of the screen, and you have to make your way into that to move to the next level.
Sounds simple, doesn't it?
It does sound simple, but as anyone, if anyone has played it, if anyone's young enough, you will know that it could be quite challenging. I never completed it. I think there were 20 odd levels, weren't there? Maybe about 22, something like that. But yeah, only 22 levels, but that really proved to be a task in itself. The first few screens, obviously, they're nicely worked out. That they're fairly easy to complete and move on, but they do ramp up in difficulty as you progress. There's moving platforms. There's platforms that crumble underneath it as you walk across them. Pretty much any object kills you. Obviously, there's enemies who potter about in patterns. And the trick, is to learn each pattern and make your way collecting these keys.
Timing.
Timing, exactly.
Timing's a key word for it here.
Very much so.
And when you say hit by an enemy, we don't mean you lose a bit of energy. You actually, that's it.
Die. Yeah.
Life gone.
You lose a life.
Yeah.
A lot of it was.
And when you're jumping, and when you're jumping around as well, there's none of this jumping and then switching direction in midair, is there? No. You jump, and that's it. You're committed. And if you've made a mistake and you hit something, you're dead. Bye. That's it. And this is what you have to explain to people who are more modern gamers than yourself, is the fact that these games were brutal at times. Weren't they? Absolutely bloody brutal.
They were brutal. Like I said, a lot of trial and error. And, I think I've said it before, I and I imagine a lot of kids must have a lot more patience when they're younger. Because obviously, like I said, I played it, for hours and hours. If I had to go at that now, I'd certainly find it hard. I'd certainly find it more challenging and more frustrating. The reason I'm taking it to the desert island, even though, like I say, I think my patience has waned a bit since I've got older, but it's the fact that I never completed it, and I'd really like to complete it. Don't get me wrong, I've seen a video of it being completed.
Yeah,
but it's not the same, is it? And
no, you've got to do it yourself, haven't you?
That sense of achievement, unless you do it yourself.
Sense of self-achievement.
And the fact that it's an absolute classic, or one of my favourite games on the Spectrum. And like I said, I've never completed it. So while I'm on that desert island, I've got time to practice it and learn exactly how to complete each level and get through to that very end.
Did you ever play it on? Did you ever play it on any other system at all? Was it just a Spectrum one?
I think I played it on the Commodore 64. It's not too bad, I don't think, if I remember rightly. It's obviously it feels a little bit different to the Spectrum version. In fact, I'd say the Spectrum version was the better of the two.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm sure I've played Commodore version. Like I said, I don't think it was too dissimilar. I just think the Spectrum, with it being the original version, just it's just that little bit more polished and sharper,
I'm trying to remember if I ever played it or not.
Have you?
I don't think. I think I've seen people. I think I played Jet Set Willy, but I don't think I played. I don't think I played this one. I think this one was probably. No, I don't think I ever have. No.
Well, right. I'm surprised at that. I am actually surprised.
But then again, I didn't have these systems when I was young, so
no.
That was probably people who I knew were playing different games.
Yeah.
So I may have played it at a later, when I got Commodore 64 eventually, many years later. I may have played it on that, but I don't think I did at the time. So
right.
There you go. Revelation number one.
To anybody who's never played it, particularly younger people, younger collectors, I should say, you will probably find it, frustrating. But it's one of them games you've got to try.
Yeah.
If there were a list of 100 games you've got to play before you die, I'm sure Manic Miner will be in there.
I think it has to be. If you even if you just pick one game from that era, that very sort of beginning where people like Matthew Smith were coding in their bedrooms, and putting things together. That would be, it would have to be on that list. It's how gaming started.
Yeah,
it'd been going, in other form, but that particular thing to show people how, you don't have to be a computer genius. You can teach yourself how to do this. This is what you can come up with.
Yeah.
I know, and obviously you said you went on to Jet Set Willy afterwards as well.
Yeah.
And they get, two games which people, I want to say, whether they fondly remember it or they remember it, those are games from that era which people will immediately say, oh yeah, Jet Set Willy or Manic Miner.
Yeah.
So
yeah, they would.
Yeah, I agree. You'd have to play it just to see what it's like. You don't have to like it.
No.
We're not going to say you've got to like it. You're just going to play it and say, that's it. Okay, I played it. It's terrible. I'm much happier playing modern games.
But the thing is, it's so simple to get into. You've got left, right, and jump. That's it.
That's all you need.
How simple can you get? But it just offered so much enjoyment, and there were a few clones, if you like, or coders that thought, this is popular, everybody likes Manic Miner, I'm going to try and make my own, and they just didn't cut it. I'm can't really think of anything that really gives it a run for its money. Probably the closest I'd say is something like Monty Mole.
That's another infuriating game.
Yeah. I'd
Yeah,
say
the
Monty Mole
Monty
were harder,
series.
actually.
Oh, I would do as well.
Yeah,
I would do.
yeah.
I played those, and they are seriously brutal stuff as well.
Yeah.
They really are. But again, that's how it was then. That's how it was. Games were, designed and made like that, and there was a challenge.
Yeah.
It might drive you around the bend, but that's what they were there for.
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
it's weird because you've got games of today. I mean, I know they don't really use split screen, but they've got these open worlds which are vast, absolutely vast, and this little Spectrum's packing in 22 little screens, but it was just so good. I know it's like I say, you can't really compare against today's stuff, but
No, you can't. No.
What I'm trying to say is that it's such a small game. It's still offered as much enjoyment, perhaps, as some modern games, anyway. But yeah, that was
so
the first one.
We'll drop Manic Miner into the box, then. So that's your first one
Yeah.
done. Okay, your next one.
Well, my next one is sort of similar. I'm moving on to the Commodore 64, and this game is called Trolley Wally.
Now, before you start
yes.
on this one, anybody who listened to when we did the pilot versions of this on the TMB podcast, I think you spoke about it then, didn't you? I'm pretty sure you did.
Yeah.
And I think you were desperately trying to think what the game was called. You just couldn't remember it before we started doing it, and you realised what it was. So there's a little bit of a TMB history to that one. On the way, and that's why never in a million years would this game come up on anybody else's list.
No, it won't.
So when you gave me this before, and I thought I knew you'd include that one.
Yeah,
I knew you would do.
I'll be very surprised if any listeners have actually heard of this one. It got a similar kind of thing. It's a platformer, 2D platformer, but it rather than being a split screen, it was a scrolling screen, and you basically controlled this orange Pac-Man with legs. That's the best way I can describe it. A Pac-Man with legs and teeth.
Pac-Man with legs was Q-Bert. Although he had a nose and Pac-Man didn't. But,
yeah, he did, yeah.
Yeah.
The big ooter. But yeah, same with this. The only controls you had were left, right, and fire, which would jump. But this one, you're basically in a supermarket, and you have to collect, I believe it was 25 items scattered around this supermarket. But Wally can only hold 5 items at a time. So you'd have to collect 5 items, then work your way across the map to the checkout, drop them 5 items off, and then you'd have to go back collecting more. The difference with this and Manic Miner is that on this you've got slides, so you could climb ladders, you could jump over platforms, but you could also slide down to get to various levels, and obviously it's even though it's not a split screen, the difficulty ramps up as you kind of get higher into the level. I hope I can explain this, so people know what I'm on about. We're actually seeing it.
They can make their own minds up. So, they can just think, this, you get your own impression of it. I mean, it's a game I'm not familiar with at all. So
no,
I'm in the same boat as everybody else.
Yeah. But again, it's that challenge, and some of the items are easy to get hold of. There's a couple of items straight away. you can easily pick up, and you it kind of lulls you into the false sense of security because you can rattle off 10 items pretty easy, get them to check out. You're like, well, crikey, I'm nearly halfway there. There can't be much more left to do. But as you get, like I say, as you get further into the level, there's actually sometimes quite unforgiving. There'll be a slide that leads straight to death. And the only way you'll know is by trial and error. Like I said, pretty unforgiving, a bit cruel. There is a couple of instances of that. So, you'll go down and you'll die and you think, right, I have to remember not to go down that one. But, well, especially with my memory, many a time I've gone there and there's a slide here. I'll go down that. And I'm like, oh no. What's that one? Bloody hell. But, yeah, it's just a great game. Again, like I said, there's a lot of challenge there for it. It's another game I haven't completed. And it's funny because actually, as soon as you start the game, you can actually see the last item. And it does say underneath the last item. And that is cruel.
Right. Yeah, it is, yeah.
Yeah.
That's really rubbing it in, isn't it?
That is rubbing it in. Obviously, like I said, I've never got to it. So I don't know what happens when you reach it. I've got a funny feeling, that you probably die after collecting it. I don't know why.
The cruel twist of fate at the end. This is the last item. You've now got it. There you go, dead.
Game over straight away.
That's it. Yeah,
because they were quite cruel with these programmers. Not that anybody will have heard of him, but it was programmed by a guy called Andrew Chalice. It was released by Interceptor Software. There were actually a sequel, Wally Goes to Rhineland, but I've never actually played it. So I honestly don't know what that's like, whether it's another platforming game or what. But it's just Trolley Wally. It's not the best looking game on this Commodore 64, not by far. But it's just so, it's addictive, because even though it can, like I say, it can be cruel, it can be a bit frustrating, they still want, you still think, I've messed up on this, so I'll go back to that and I'll try and do it right this time. I'll again, like you say, it's all about the timing of the jumps. Or there's like these lasers which move and you've got to like shuffle along with them. Again, it's timing that, you've got to do it right, otherwise you die. And like Manic Miner, this is the same kind of thing. You'll die instantly with contact, with certain things like spikes and anything. There's no health bar, anything like that. But it's just a game that completely enchanted me. I'll be honest, and I have actually got the game. I'll be on Desert Island playing it, won't I?
That's right, yeah. We have to find you a copy from somewhere. Must be one somewhere we can get hold of. But yeah, it's not a game I know an awful lot, and that's one of the great joys of doing something like this, because you hear about people talk about games that you've never heard of, or you may have heard of but never played, and the way people like yourself talk about them, you become completely entranced and enchanted by it, and then you think, actually, that doesn't, he said it's not the most best looking game in the world, but you sort of think, I quite like the sound of that, I'll give that a go.
Yeah.
But that's the joy of it. You pick that game for those reasons you mentioned, and other people pick other games for the reasons they mentioned. It's down to it. And like I said, you probably say most people may have been hearing about that game for the first time, possibly the second time if they heard the original podcast when we did it as a trial. You've mentioned it, and I still haven't found a copy of it.
No.
We trailed this probably back in early 2020 last year, because obviously we did the first. I did the first one of Desert Island Games that year, so we must have done this beforehand. So it's been a long time. I've still not seen it knocking around anywhere.
If if I'm not mistaken, Russ, it's getting quite hard to get hold of now. Whether for whatever reason, I'm sure forget where I heard it or read it, but I'm sure I remember somebody saying that it was getting quite hard to find now.
Oh, right.
Now whether it's I don't know. I really don't know what would make it, an hard to find game. I suppose it wasn't as renowned as something like Manic Miner or Jet Set Willy. Like you said, a lot of people just would never have heard of it, even though it had a sequel and it maybe even had another one. I'm not right sure. It's just something nobody really knows.
What we've got here is a retro games revived hidden gem.
Yeah.
Not a Metal Jesus hidden gem. This is a retro games revived hidden gem.
It's a hidden gem, definitely.
There we go.
Definitely.
Right. So that's two real old school, classic, early microcomputing platform bashing against a brick wall games, which they mostly are with that. And then your next one, and for a lot of people know you, this is your game. This is the game we all associate you with.
Yeah.
Because it's one of your absolute favourites. And did you play it first on these systems? Or did you play it after this, or was it?
No, it was. Now then. No, it was after. It must have been after the Spectrum, probably around the time of Commodore 64.
Okay, yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, it was an arcade game. And I'm pretty sure you might not have heard of Trolley War. I'm pretty sure everybody has heard of this. It's an absolute classic, Sega classic, and it had the best arcade cabinet ever, in my opinion. And like I say, everybody knows me. I've got it as my logo. Space Harrier.
Space Harrier. Now,
absolutely.
It is. I mean, you mentioned about the arcade. I mean, the hydraulic machine that it was. I mean, I'd never actually played on it, but I did see it. I remember seeing it, thinking just in one of the arcades when I was younger, probably a few years after it came out. So but I just remember seeing this is like wow. It was right next to a copy of Enduro Racer as well, which was the dirt bike game as well. But and that was the one I saw. That was the one with the sit down bike on it. And I think I only saw it that once. And this arcade we were in had got a lot of machines like that. Those are two I remember. And the Space Harrier arcade game is just like, it's a huge sprawling thing. It really is.
The thing that I always remember about Space Harrier, whether it was a family holiday or what, I can't quite remember. The first time I ever saw Space Harrier was in Bridlington, which is a seaside resort on the east coast of Yorkshire. And it was an arcade called Joyland. And they had the machine. Must have been when it first came out, because you don't see it nowadays, or at least I haven't seen it for a long time. And that's a crowd around an arcade machine. This had a crowd around it. I'm not kidding. It was surrounded by people, because back then this was something else. To see a big cabinet moving about in the way that it did, and what were attracting everybody and myself were the sounds, the distinct when he died, get ready,
the speech coming out of it,
and the music. I mean, they must have ramped up that volume for that, because the arcade know what they were doing. They know that they bought something special here. I mean, what
was it right at the front? Was it right at the front?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
And it was, I fell in love with it. I was in love with an arcade machine.
That's a completely different podcast for a different time, mate. we don't know about the ins and outs of that. you and your trips to the fantasy zone. We're really not interested.
I tell you, I honestly, God, I was stood there and I joined the queue, if it were a queue, and I finally got on the game, and it was unbelievable. I absolutely loved it, and I dare say I didn't last 2 minutes on the game, but it didn't matter. I've actually got on this machine. You know, there were people around watching me fail miserably on my first go, but yeah, and that was fantastic. The thing what I do remember actually watching some other lad, and he must have played it quite a few times, and he was blitzing through it, and I was like, I want to get that good at it, you know, because like I said, there were a big crowd, there always a big crowd around, and back then, you know, being you know, like, oh, look at me, look how good I am, that, you know, and unfortunately, I never got that good at it, really, not as good as he was. But yeah, it was just the I mean, the graphics. To me, I honestly still think they hold up really well today. They're nice and colourful. They're fast. At the time, you know, we talk about the Sega super scalers, and that is probably the best example that you could show. You know, for the super scalers, it was really churning out them sprites. You know, breakneck speed. It's just relentless, but it is just so much fun. I believe there is. You see, I've tried this and it don't work for me. But whether it was a myth, that they said that you could just control the character around the edges of the screen, just basically move your character in a circle, constantly firing, and nothing can kill you. But I've tried it and it killed me. So I believe it's a myth, but interesting one at that. But yeah, like I said, I'm sure it came out. I'm sure I found it at the time of the Commodore, because I think I remember, like, you know, anticipating it coming out for the Commodore, and when it did, you know. I wouldn't like to say I was disappointed, really, because, you know, even then I think I knew enough that, you know, we weren't going to get exact arcade quality games, and I think I was pretty happy with it, to be fair, on the Commodore version. Looking back at it now, you know, you probably would think, oh, that's horrible. It's really nothing like. But at the time, you know, when obviously at the time when I had Commodore, I don't think it was too bad a conversion, and I enjoyed it. But yeah, it's funny because we went to the arcade club at Leeds. It was for my birthday. I think it was the year just the January just before lockdown, the first lockdown. I went with Pete, Eddie, Nath, and David. Retro Games played badly, and they've got the cabinet there, the full cabinet.
Oh right, yeah.
And it was, you know, I just loved it. Just being able to get back on my beloved space on it. You know, on free play as well. Well, you know, you can't ask for better than that. But yeah, it's such a great game, classic arcade game.
Apart from the arcade, what's your favourite version that you've played of it?
Master System.
Okay.
Yeah. I think the Master System version done really well. I think it's pretty faithful for, you know, again, it's only an 8-bit system, but it looks lovely. If I'd have played the PC Engine version, I would have maybe gone for that.
Yeah, that was like
I've seen videos of it, and it looks pretty damn good, but I hadn't actually played it. So And you did say the one that I'd played, didn't you?
Yes, that's
Version
right.
I'd played. Yeah, definitely. Master System. Definitely.
Were there two versions of that? Then? Was there the special 3D one?
Yeah.
And the standard one, obviously the 3D one with the glasses, which are really hard to get hold of now.
Yeah.
That don't sort of break in your hands.
I have played that version as well, the 3D version. And,
oh right, yeah.
And I think that was a really good game as well. A really good take on Space Harrier. So
yeah, again, we mentioned Manic Miner about one of those games that you probably need to play. 100 video games you need to play. I mean, Space Harrier.
Yeah.
It's got to be close to that list, hasn't it? I mean, would I put it on there? I don't know. I'm not sure whether I would. I'm pretty sure you would. Or I know you would, but it wouldn't be far away. But I think it's got an important moment, hasn't it? Because of the arcade cabinet that it came with. I know there were other cabinets that were hydraulic, like Afterburner. Was the other one I was thinking of. Would I put Afterburner ahead of Space Harrier as a game? Probably, I would do.
Would you really?
I would do, because I don't know. I think because you're flying a plane, aren't you? In Afterburner, you're a jet fighter. So that sort of moving around in the cabinet is sort of applicable to being in that sort of scenario.
You see, my counter argument with that is, for me anyway, Afterburner, for me, I honestly just felt like I was moving the joystick randomly and firing randomly and hoping for best. Whereas Space Harrier, I am actually, targeting the enemies. Whether that's just my games playing and not being able to play Afterburner very well, but that's unfortunately how I've always looked at Afterburner. Is it's just me mindlessly waggling joystick about.
Waggling joystick, yeah. No, I take that. I mean, different games, different reasons, isn't it? We can disagree on that one. That's no problem at all. But it's I don't know. I think I just felt Afterburner was more. If I'm going to be doing something more realistic, whereas opposed to Space Harrier, I'm not really sure it's like to jump off the ground and leap around. Not at my age, anyway. Now, certainly not. Didn't do much leaping around back then either. But but I mean, it's going to be close. I mean, if you extend that list to 150 games, I'll probably say yes, it would definitely be on there. And Sega re-released it, but it got converted to pretty much every single system, even the PC engine, as you mentioned, and it does crop up on compilations. I know Sega have resurrected it a number of times, and on various compilations as well. So it is one of those games that I think people do need to, again, probably play at least once. Yeah.
I'd like to add that the Spectrum version is a pretty good game. It looks good. It's nice and detailed, and it runs pretty fast. And weirdly enough, I've been looking recently at Amstrad games for a certain reason.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
No idea. And I actually came across a video on YouTube, and it was something like the 100 games you should play on the Amstrad. And Space Harrier cropped up, and I'm like, no way. I don't know if you've seen the Amstrad version of Space Harrier.
I haven't, but knowing the Amstrad that I do,
right, it's
obviously you can imagine it can be very, very colourful, but the Amstrad did sort of struggle with speed, so I'm just wondering how it looks on that.
Everything's kind of wireframe. It's not, the trees aren't coloured in; it's just a white outline.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Strange.
To look at it, you would honestly think, oof, that can't be good. But the guy said, despite like the looks, it does play really well, and it surprised me actually. I'm now interested to get hold of a copy for Amstrad.
Well, you should. You got it for the 64 on the Spectrum, I take it.
I've got it on 64 on the Spectrum, yeah. Because I do actually have a little Space Harrier collection, which is very little because I always forget about it, and I end up buying other stuff. But yeah, I've got a few Space Harrier games. I've actually got a PC Engine Space Harrier, just not the system to play it on.
The system to play it on, yeah.
So, but yeah, I'm quite keen to give the Amstrad version a go because he says it's not really it's not a bad game at all.
Because
surprising,
you do find sometimes with Amstrads, I'm not knocking them, but you do find sometimes that the ports they got would tend to be ported from the Spectrum. So perhaps they're not coloured in trees, and the outlines are going to be a result of being ported from that, I suppose. But I've never played it on the Amstrad. I don't really know. So, but yeah, I'm interested now. That's piqued my interest as to have a look at that and see what it's actually like.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Well, yeah, I mean, it's another Stone Cold classic, that one, mate. I mean, it's a good choice, and like I said, it's a game we do associate you with, so it's a good choice on that one. Right, so let's leave your gaming list alone for the moment. Let's jump back to your system history. We left it at the Commodore 64. So where did you go after
that? It was another Christmas present, and again, this was completely a surprise. I may still have had my Commodore 64 when I got this. It was a long time ago, so my memory's quite vague. But I do know it was a Christmas present, and it was a surprise. Again, I didn't really take much notice of TV adverts and such like that. It may have been advertised all over. I can't remember. But it was a Sega Master System. But conveniently enough, we've just been on about it. It was the Sega Scope 3D pack with the 3D glasses and the light gun.
Oh, what was that one called?
Ultra rare nowadays, aren't they? Or pricey at least.
Yeah, it was a light phase. They called. I know the one on the Mega Drive was the Menacer, wasn't it? So I'm pretty sure this was just called a light phaser for the Master System.
Yeah.
I think I've got the light phaser. In fact, I have got the light phaser.
Yeah, I've got the light phaser, but
the glasses,
the Sega Master System with the matte one, the power base. And yeah, I got that for Christmas, and again, it was absolutely incredible to get it because it was a surprise. I didn't, as far as I know, I didn't ask for it. But yeah, the Master System. I've never been. In fact, I never really knew anybody with a Nintendo. And
same here.
Yeah, and I think Pete Fighter 2's mentioned it a few times, hasn't he? That he was saying he never knew really anybody with a Nintendo. Everybody were in the Sega gang.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
And that was same here. So I didn't really know much about the Nintendo, the NES or anything. Didn't know any at the time. Didn't really know about the competition between the two. But I got this Sega Master System, and yeah, if I did have the Commodore at the time, that unfortunately fell, probably under bed, collecting dust, because the Master System was a cracking console. Like I said, I had the Sega Scope 3D pack. I'd got, I think it was Maze Hunter 3D or Missile Global Defense or something like that.
Global Defense.
Global Defense 3D.
Yeah, I don't think I've got that one, but I know that is a game on the Master System.
Yeah.
I haven't. No.
And I did at some point, whether it was later on, I did have Space Harrier 3D as well. It was just a cracking little system, and at the time, it had the cards and the card slot, and at the time, cards were pretty, they were in abundance really, and
very hard to get hold of nowadays.
Yeah. I've only got one actually. Have
you got one? Oh, right.
I've managed to get one. It went off the Craig's here again. He's
Oh yes, yeah.
And can't remember what game it is. It didn't matter. I just wanted a card in my collection.
Yeah.
But yeah, many hours, many days and months. In fact, playing the Sega Master System. I had quite a decent library on my Master System because back then can't remember what age I was, but I'm pretty sure I'll have been getting a bit more pocket money than I would have done at my Commodore days. I used to get £2 a week pocket money back in my Spectrum days, and that it doesn't seem a lot, but to the young kid, and especially when they got games at $1.99 for 8-bit systems, it were a godsend. Probably maybe had a paper round or something at that time that funded me games for the Master System. But I just loved it. It was so colourful, and obviously even though it was the same 8-bit as Spectrum and Commodore, it just seemed like a complete step up from them. With regarding the colours and what have you, and games being able to look more like their arcade counterparts. I mean, I love Outrun on the Master System. I think that's a brilliant conversion.
Yeah.
Nowhere near perfect, but still pretty damn good.
Better than some of the 8-bit conversions, and actually some of the 16-bit ones as well, to be fair.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. It does it goes at a fair old speed, and looks terrific. So, but yeah, that's there isn't really many tales to tell about my Master System. I'm afraid, because
no,
like I said, I just basically got it for Christmas and played the machine, played the games on the machine.
But it's something you're collecting for now, though, isn't it? As well, you started
it is.
As you say, you're going for cart only collection. Was that right?
Cartridge only, yeah. I mean, that's still going to be a task in itself and a pricey task. But let alone with cases and instruction manuals as well.
Well, that's it. I think again, it's strange, isn't it, when you think about it, that a lot of these tape games still survive with the inlays and the boxes intact, but anything after that, it is incredibly difficult to get everything as it is, isn't it?
And obviously that was the thing with the Master System. That was my leap into a different format, from tapes to cartridges, and it makes a massive difference. 10 minutes loading a tape game up to seconds loading the cartridge game up.
Plugging it in and go, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's a system which is enjoying a bit of a renaissance collection-wise and gameplay-wise, certainly on this corner of YouTube. Anyway, a lot of people seem to be getting very into it, which is good. So I like it. It's a good system. It
doesn't seem to get a lot of hate, does it? When you think?
No, I don't think it does.
Even Nintendo fans, I've never really heard them saying, bashing it. It kind of has a bit of respect from everybody.
Yeah, and if you think about the NES, and sometimes the let's say the abuse level at it, but the criticism level at it from a lot of people. But I don't know. It's because I just don't know what it is. Very few people have a bad thing to say about it.
No, you don't.
You can always pick and choose and pick faults with systems and not like systems for certain reasons, but the Master System doesn't get that.
No.
Which is really strange. Yeah. When you think about it, Okay, so what happened after the Master System?
Well, it wasn't too long after, really, in the scheme of things, that because if I'm not mistaken, the Master System and the Amiga came out roughly the same time. Am I right in saying that?
You're in the right area. It's late 80s.
Yeah. And basically, I remember seeing things about the Amiga and looking at the graphics on it. You know, like, wow, these are brilliant. Because to me, at that time in computing history, you did notice a jump in the next level of bits. You know, you could tell one generation from the next with ease. And I remember seeing the Amiga and the screenshots and the videos of it, and I kind of started looking more into it. And at some point, I learned about this Amiga swapping club close to where I live, or I lived, just one of the local towns next to us.
Was that the sort of swapping club you went into and dropped your 3.5-inch floppy in a bowl?
Yeah.
Pick one up and went out with a different game each night or something.
It was funny because I actually got to this swapping club.
You could have picked a better phrase for that.
Me and my mate went actually, and it was absolutely chock-a-block, honest to God. And as you can imagine, it was some kind of village hall or whatever it was, pub maybe. I can't quite remember, but I do remember this room being absolutely crammed with people. Loads of Amiga. There were STs as well. It wasn't. I say it was an Amiga swapping club, but there were STs there as well, and everybody just had games playing, demos. There were even one guy. I remember this as clear as though. He was actually on some kind of art package, and he was drawing RoboCop, and it was really good actually.
Yeah.
And I think I stood there for about half an hour just watching him draw on RoboCop on this art package. And then I came across this Amiga playing Red Sector Mega Demo. Now, for those unfamiliar with the demo scene on the Amiga, it were basically bedroom coders, or teams of bedroom coders who assign themselves a name. This one being the Red Sector, and they basically the coded demos and they showed off flashy effects that they could do with the Amiga. I believe a lot of these groups actually started out as, I won't say hackers as such, but the crack commercial games to overcome the piracy protection. And what they do is what they call crack them, and they basically you'd load your game up. Excuse me, you'd load your game up, and you'd be faced with this menu, and it'd give you infinite lives or whatever. You didn't have to put them on, but basically the main thing was it overcome the copyright protection, so you could play this copied game. And that's how a lot of these teams started up. But they eventually went on to, like I said, the demo scene, which it was basically seeing who could create the best effects, to music. And I'm like, wow, this is something that I really enjoy. And I remember seeing the Red Sector Mega Demo, and at first, I was like, well, what's this? And the guy was explaining, and I was transfixed with this demo, and he loaded up another one, and again, I'm like, wow, this is incredible. Now, from that, well, I did attend that club a few times, but I never actually owned an Amiga. And I was buying discs as well. I was actually buying copied discs, but I had no Amiga to play them on. But I didn't want to let them go. So I thought, I am going to get an Amiga at some point. And I remember I couldn't afford an Amiga straight out. Neither could my mum and dad, although I did ask them many a time. And my mum used to do the catalogue. Probably K's or something back then. And they had these Amigas in the catalogue. And I finally convinced my mum. I said, "Mum, can I, I think at that time I was on a YTS. And I was like, I'll pay it. Yes, well, you better do, because I'm not bloody paying for it for you." I will, Mum, I will. And so she ordered me an Amiga. And I remember the day that this big box arrived, and she says, "Oh, your computer's arrived, son." I'm like, "Oh, brilliant." I was absolutely delighted. I was nearly crying with excitement until I opened it. And she'd ordered the wrong thing. She ordered an Amstrad bloody PC
Oh,
word
no.
processor. Yeah, she'd ordered the wrong thing. And I'm like, "Oh, Mum, it's wrong one." She's like, "What do you mean?" I said, "That's not an Amiga. That's what you told me to order." I said, "I didn't." Oh, and I was absolutely...
Both started with the same letter, I suppose. I wonder what you're going to say then. Like a food processor arrived or something.
It was this bloody Amstrad word processor.
Oh no, that's no good for nothing, is it?
To do with that. Bless her, she had to send it back and reorder, and I did finally get me Amiga 500, and that I spent so much time on my Amiga, and in fact, I used to go to a shop in Wakefield, and it was called 17-bit software. And all they did, Russ, were PD software, public domain software, demos, utilities, games, and stuff like that. And I just buy demos and what have you from there. I hardly bought any games, to be fair.
I think we've established the only person who ever bought Amiga games was me. I'm the only person in this country who kept the Amiga games industry going with real folding money. Everybody else got theirs from, nefarious means, shall we say.
Yeah. But the thing was, the PD scene had what they called Assassin's Games discs. And they were basically, like I said, they were bedroom coders who would send these games in to 17-bit software, and they'd compile a disc with, up to 10 games or so, and they called them Assassin's discs. And there's some great games on there, and I spent a lot of time playing those games rather than any, commercial games. Some of those games were just as good. There was one game, it was a puzzle game. Now then, I can't remember the name of it, but it was so addictive. It was really, really addictive. And I think it was a bit like solitaire, but solitaire as in, like with the little wooden pegs where you have to jump over a peg to remove it.
I'm with it. Yeah.
That, but it was like a five-sided star with different colour balls, I think it was, and it was some kind of puzzle game like that, but it was really addictive. And I think I've mentioned it before, one of the best football management games I've ever played was through the PD scene, through the it was really, really, I won't say in depth, but it was just so realistic. And me and my mate, we spent hours managing a few football teams. Loved it.
Remember what it was called?
I can't. No, not a chance. not a chance.
Oh, okay, that's right.
Especially with it being a public domain game, chances are it would probably just call something like Football Manager.
Yeah.
You know, I know, like, there's a lot of the Assassin's games, the titles weren't really very well thought, but tank battle, you know,
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Skiing.
Yes.
Well, most of the games were actually very, very enjoyable and playable. But yeah, it got actually me and Amiga kind of got to a point where there were like a group of us, me and a few of my mates, and we'd moved on to like sensible soccer, and we used to have little leagues. We used to make our own little leagues up, and we'd play each other, play computer. You know, and that's all we did. You know, pretty much all evening. About 5 of us taking it in turns to play sensi soccer.
That's what you did back then, though, wasn't it? It doesn't happen so much now because we all play online.
Online, yeah.
So, but that was the thing back then. You go around your friend's house, or a few of you go around somebody's house, and you spend all evening or afternoon or whatever playing.
Yeah.
Whatever it was.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we were the same. So.
I mean, I think I was the only one with an Amiga out of my mates. I used to carry it around, you know, because obviously couldn't spend.
That's no mean feat.
You know, sometimes I'd sleep over at my mates, or I'd drag Amiga along, and you know, we'd have an evening playing Amiga games and drinking beer. But yeah, I think from between the Amiga and my next system, I think I did actually kind of not fall out of love with console systems, but Bay took over. Bay was the next thing.
Yeah, because I mean, there is a big gap in your gaming history between the Amiga and your next system.
Yeah.
In terms of years. And you know, again, you're not the first person to come on here and say that. A lot of people have had breaks in between that, so it's not a continual run all the way through. A lot of people I've spoken to have got gaps where they were doing something else for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Which, you know, life gets in the way. Things change. You know, your interests change. You get distracted by other stuff.
Exactly. You know, and your age, you know, because you kind of go through your late teen years and you just want to go out, you know, and have a blast. And that is kind of what happened. I got into football. Started supporting Scarborough Football Club, and everybody says, "Why on earth did you support those when you lived in like Featherstone, Pontefract, which is nowhere near?" And it's just simply the fact that we used to go to Scarborough, a car full of us, and we used to go just for, you know, the nightlife, and then we'd keep over in cars. And there just happened to be a match on one of the days after, and we all like, "Oh, we've never been to the football. Shall we go to this and see what this is about?" And we did, and we really enjoyed it. So we kind of pretty much then started following Scarborough and doing that. But,
was that a local? Was that a localist team to you? Was it?
Not really. No, I mean, Scarborough was 70 miles away, roughly, from where we lived.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Like I said, we just used to love Scarborough and Bridlington for the night outs. I don't know why we didn't go local to nightclubs and pubs. We just like having a drive out to the coast and having a drink there, and that is what kind of took over then for a few years. You know, like I said, going out for a few beers and getting drunk quite a lot, and going to Scarborough football matches, until I suppose you could say I settled down. Am I moving on to my next one yet?
Yeah, carry on. Yeah.
I kind of settled down, and it was now then, it's still quite sketchy on. Did I get the PlayStation when it first came out or afterwards? I'm talking about the PlayStation 1, the original PlayStation. And basically, we lived right next door to a comet. And many times we'd go in there, just looking around, really. And I always remember there being a Philips CDI playing. And I remember looking at that and thinking, wow, that's really good. You know, especially the FMV, full motion video that it was displaying. and then all of a sudden one day we went in and there were these IPS1 set up running whatever game it was, I can't remember. But I was like, this is a proper step up. This is a giant leap for mankind, so to speak. Yeah, and the funny thing about this is, what happened? The partner I was with at the time, we got engaged, and we actually had an engagement do, and obviously, you know, we got a bit of money to buy stuff for house to help us along with house and that. And one thing we bought was a PlayStation 1. I had to laugh because we both worked at the same place at Haribo, and people were mortified and like, "You bought what? It's supposed to be for bloody furniture and stuff." I'm like, "Well, it is kind of furniture, isn't it?"
It is. Yes, it's pride and place in the living room. Of course, it does. Yeah.
They couldn't believe it that I bought a PlayStation 1 with this engagement money. But yeah, that set me up as, I've got to be honest, that set me up as a Sony fanboy. And as people know, you know, I'm still Sony stalwart to this day.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it just amazing. And you know, the first few games that I got for it were just incredible, and they amazed me at the time. In fact, I think I loaded, you know, maybe Resident Evil up at the time, and I still couldn't quite believe that it was doing what it was doing. Like, what is this trickery, this wizardry that's going on inside here? You know, and we got true arcade quality games. But yeah, the PlayStation 1. Well, to me, it was a big giant leap from the 8-bits and the 16-bit systems. I suppose me gaming with my friends kind of drifted away then, as family life took hold, became like a single player. So a lot of games were just single player games that I played. You know, it's amazing and all, because I was buying pretty much everything for it, and you know, the light gun, the G-Con, any game that came out. In fact, I probably had a bigger collection of PS1 games than I do now back then, but I didn't really consider it a collection. It was just, you know, a big stack of games.
Yeah.
But I had loads.
Having been out of gaming for a few years, how did you find had games changed to you in that time in terms of playing them? Was there because obviously, if you were playing on the Amiga, you've been used to playing with a joystick. Obviously, now we moved into joypads and things like that. I mean, did you find it was easy to get back into it?
I'd say it wasn't too hard to get back into it, because I've always been a gamer. You know, certainly in those days, I was very much a gamer. So I don't think I found it too hard to get back into it. You know, in regards of like the PS1 controller having more buttons to work with, No, I don't think it really bothered me too much being a games player. Like Crash Bandicoot,
Yeah.
you know, there's still fairly basic controls out there. Up, down, left, right, or eight-way direction, and then your jump button.
Yeah.
On spin. So yeah, a couple of more buttons, but yeah, I could just about handle them, Russ.
I'm glad you can.
Yeah, no, I won't say I had a big problem. In fact, I found it more beneficial. Like I said, being able to actually play realistic arcade conversion, I think that helped massively as well. They just you know, it just played so much nicer. In fact, probably at the time when I first got my, I don't think I actually thought there were a bad game for the system.
Yeah.
You know, pretty much every game I was getting, it was incredible. But
you hadn't discovered Midas games by that point, then, that would have changed your opinion very, very quickly. In case people know, Midas were a game developer who weren't very good, bless them.
No.
But they turned out an awful lot of stuff, just nothing that was any good.
Yeah, didn't they have pocket money value?
Yeah,
that one of their traits.
Yeah, very, very budgety, weren't they? And you could always tell by looking at it. He's very good in stills, in screenshots. It looked really good, but when he started moving and playing it, it was a bit of a different story. But yeah, I mean, every system has something like you know, a software developer like that who's an absolute waste of time and just churned out as many games as they possibly could do. Yeah.
Yeah, but
a real favourite for you than a PlayStation 1?
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. Certainly, at least until up to the next system.
Yeah. This is a bit of a shift, isn't it? Yeah, a bit of a shift.
Yeah. I had the PlayStation 1 a few years. In fact, I had it all the way up to 2000. So if I did get it from newish from release, then we're talking, you know, 94. Well, 94 it was released, wasn't it? PlayStation 1. So at latest 95. So yeah, I had a good 5 or 6 years on PlayStation 1 before I made a jump to the next system. And you know, I don't think I ever wavered really with PlayStation. Never really thought I'm getting tired of it or anything like that. I just, you know, there was still really good games coming out for it, you know, late on as that. So yeah, it was a solid system for me. And certainly never regretted getting that over, you know, other systems that were out at the time. Like I said, you know, tempted by that Philips CDI, but once I clapped my eyes on the PS1, the Philips CDI drifted into oblivion basically. It's only in recent-ish years that I actually got the Philips CDI that I own now, you know, and I got that purely because I thought to myself, I never got that system, so it'd be nice to own it, even though it does know it's sat doing nothing. But that's a shame.
That's probably its best trait, wasn't it? Really, I mean, it was just one of those systems which, like I said, I somebody I knew either had one of those or they had a 3DO. I can't remember. I think it was probably a 3DO. And I remember seeing them and thinking, I don't know about this. It seems with the 3DO one, I think you can probably understand it was more of a game element, but the CDO, I always thought it was more educational. I felt there was a subliminal message to it, which I didn't really like. The fact that you could buy Encyclopedia Britannica for it, and
I'd agree with that.
And I'm like, I don't want that. I don't want to. I don't want to play encyclopedias. I want to play games on it. Well, there's poor encyclopedia salesmen who were made redundant overnight because of the CDI. No need for it. Having said that, you think about that. Yeah, I mean, we had I don't know. We had a set of encyclopedias in our house.
Yeah,
I mean, they were years old, like. But of course, things like that don't exist nowadays, do they? You don't need them because, we moved into the CD-ROM era, so everything was put onto CD-ROM or a series of CD-ROMs, and as time's gone on, we've now got the internet.
Exactly.
So you can look up anything you want from anywhere in time, and it's going to be online somewhere. It's really strange to think how that.
Yeah.
Even 25 years ago.
Yeah.
Encyclopedias were still a thing.
The thing is, and all that, as informative as encyclopedias were, they were still pretty limited. I mean, I can search for Trolley Wally online, and it will come up. There's a Wikipedia page for it. It's and I won't never find that in an encyclopedia.
That's it. Yeah. Oh, you wouldn't do. You wouldn't do.
No.
But that's the joy of it. That's you can now look at stuff you used to want to use an encyclopedia for. You can just find it anywhere. It's it's a great thing. So your next system then after PlayStation 1, we said it's a bit of a shift in direction for you.
Yeah, I probably never got rid of the PS1 when I got this system. But what happened was, I knew about this system, and I knew how good its capabilities were. The Sega Dreamcast, and at the time I was working at Asda, and I worked in warehouse, and got talking to most of the lads and that, and having a laugh, and it on his dinner break, which actually coincided with the weakest link. And Robinson's weakest link, because we all used to have his dinner, and there'd be like this part of the canteen where it was sectioned off with sofas and chairs and a TV, and weakest link were always on at that time, and we'd all sit there, slagging Anne Robinson off for how she was.
I bought that game on the PlayStation 1, if I remember.
I think everybody's got that though, haven't they?
Yeah.
It's the one where Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. I think those two games.
Oh yeah, that's copies of that everywhere. But
but it was just so random. We were sat there one of the days, and this lad, he come in and he's pacing around. He went, "Hey up, lads, does anybody want to buy a Dreamcast? I'm selling me Dreamcast." And everybody just sat there. They weren't interested. I went, well, I might be. And he's like, "Oh dear." He says, I've got all sorts for it. I've got light gun, I've got keyboard for it, and you can go on the internet with it, I says, yeah. I said, I've heard I said, how much? Yeah. I says, how much do you want for it? About 80 quid. And I'm like, bargain. Yeah, go on then. Yeah, I'll have it, even back then. Because it was a new system. I don't know how long it had been out. It did come out in 2000, didn't it?
It was probably a little bit, maybe 99, I think.
Oh, but in 99.
It wouldn't have been that old. I mean, maybe talking maybe 12 months, I would have thought.
Yeah. He wasn't interested in it. And I said, yeah, I'll have it. He fetched me the whole lot. There were loads of games with it. Like I said, there was the keyboard with the Dream Arena, what it called? Dream Key?
Dream Key, yeah.
Dream Key to get on the internet. Yeah. And that I basically bought the Dreamcast for the internet, to be honest.
You actually went online with the Dreamcast.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that was my. I would say that was one of my very first, time that I'd gone on the internet. Saying that, we did have a PC, We had AOL and all that.
Yeah.
But to actually really, delve into it, I just used to load up the Dream Key. At the time, there used to be like these Sega chat rooms that you kind of got on straight away, and I just used to chat with people on there and have a bit of banter with people. But I don't think I actually played any games online. It was just a web browser, basically, surfing web on my Dreamcast. Even though I'm sure we had a PC which did exactly the same, but didn't matter. But it was just the fact that play 18-wheeler and Sonic Adventure is. I thought it were all right. I don't think it was a bad game. It was certainly, obviously different to what we were used to, but I quite enjoyed it. I quite enjoyed that. Crazy Taxi, everybody will tell you that's probably the best conversion that we've ever had on any system.
Yep.
It just oozed quality to me in terms of games, and that load up sound is a masterpiece. I'd say it's, to me anyway, it's more iconic than PlayStation 1 startup sound.
Oh right, that's interesting.
It's weird. I just love that sound as it swirls. Crazy, but just a little thing like that. It's so nostalgic. But yeah, I will play my Dreamcast for quite a good while. Like I said, I don't think I could pick a fault with it, and to this day, I still think it's a cracking system.
Yeah,
and such a shame it never made the cut, did it? As such,
that's right, and I think people who enjoy it and have fond memories of it, and quite rightly so, say it's probably the last console of that era to get arcade conversion spot on, because around that time as well, the arcades are beginning to die out. So the last sort of great arcade games, you mentioned obviously Crazy Taxi on there, ended up on this particular system. It got some great games for it. I mean, I think I neglect my Dreamcast a little bit, to be honest with you. But I don't know. I just don't feel an affinity towards it. But it was one of those systems I wanted when I started collecting. I thought, well, I really want one of those. I've heard a lot about them, so I want to get hold of one and played on it. I don't hate it. Don't despise it.
No.
It's just not something I put on rotation an awful lot.
No. It's. I'm just thinking. Interestingly, I've kind of bypassed like the Mega Drive and the SNES, haven't I? You
have.
I suppose a lot of people may think that's quite weird, but I never kind of got into those two systems. They just bypassed me.
But you find that, don't you? I mean, certain systems bypass me. The Saturn bypassed me completely. I got a PlayStation 1. A lot of my friends had N64s. The Dreamcast passed me by because he just did. I just don't know why. I was still playing PlayStation 1 and quite happy on that. And then when I moved on to my next system, I completely bypassed the Dreamcast. It was just one of those systems that I never got into.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose I had each of my systems quite a while, Probably the quickest turnaround, I would say, would be from the Master System to the Amiga. I reckon
that was quite close.
Quite a quick turnaround. Because, like I said, I think they were released roughly at the same time, ish, So, before we shift suddenly changed from one to the other. But I certainly never lost any love for any of these systems, not at all. But yeah, the Dreamcast again. Sad to say, but I didn't really have any mates at that time. I was a lone player, so many evenings spent just playing Dreamcast games on my own
and chatting to people on Sega chat. And... well, I spent many a night sat chatting to people as well on the PC. So that's it. I can sympathise with that a little bit. Do you want to talk? Because obviously we talked before about what we're going to do. I mean, obviously, I know what's coming next will then lead into where we want to get to with some of the other games on your list. So, after the Dreamcast, I mean, obviously you said before you were very PlayStation orientated, and this is where the rest of your sort of stuff comes in, doesn't it? Really, I mean, we know you're a collector as such, and obviously you collect for a different system. But these are the ones that you had after the Dreamcast, which were in succession.
Yeah.
And that again is a PlayStation family of consoles, isn't it? So.
Yeah. I mean, there's not much to say on it really. I haven't got any tales to tell, that go along with the systems. But yeah, from the Dreamcast, obviously, I moved on to the PS2.
But you must have something to go with the PlayStation 2. I'm not trying to eke stories out of you. I'm trying to sort of tell me some stories about it. No, but it is a system now that you are trying to go for a full set for, isn't it? So there must be a connection with this system to be able to do something like that.
Well, you see, I never actually bought a brand new PS2 because I think actually the PS2 was quite. It might have been a few years into the system. Before I got my first, because it was just it was a second-hand one from Game or whatever it was that might have been doing it, or cash, like a cash generators thing. I know wherever I bought it from, it was second-hand, and I got it basically just if anything just because it was there and it was something new. Obviously, I know the PS1 were a really good console. So I thought, well, PS2 must be. It's got this emotion engine. Whether that were a gimmick, I don't know. But it sounded good. And, obviously, I had seen a video of games on it. And, I'll try my hand at one of them. And obviously, I would say the PS2 got me into the first-person shooters. I don't think any other system did. But yeah, definitely with the PS2, as I've mentioned many times, Medal of Honors on the PS2. A lot of them I loved. The CODs. I stepped, dipped my toes into CODs. There were Brothers in Arms, Black. Such an underrated first-person shooter, in my opinion, Killzone. So the PS2 had absolutely huggings of first-person shooters, which I could really get my teeth into. And
it had what of PlayStation shooters? Huggins. What's that?
Loads of huggins.
I've never heard of that phrase before. I said, I thought, Huggins, what's he talking about? I've never heard of that.
I wonder if it's a Yorkshire thing.
Maybe it must be, because Huggins something else. I do something. Huggins completely different down here. I thought you were talking about nappies to start with. I thought that's Huggies. I've never heard it called that before. Never.
Right, yeah. It's not an often used word, I suppose, but even up
it's only you using it as far as I know. Yeah. Well, there you go. I've learned something else now. It's usually gaming stuff I learn about, but that's another one.
Well, like I said, there was just a wealth of the first-person show that I loved, and that I've I really don't think there were many other games I played on PS2 at the time, you know, other than those, because I was just obsessed with them. And even then, you know, they were slightly easier to control than modern first-person shooters. There weren't as many controls, but still really, you know, intuitive and I love the PlayStation 2 controls. I mean, I love the PlayStation 1 as well, the original one even. But yeah, for me, the PS2 controls one of my favourites, and it just felt so natural to control the games with. So, you know, I'm trying to think of what other games I did play on PS2 because I did have my PS2 obviously quite a while. Because obviously, you know, like I said, I then went through the stages of the PS3 and the PS4, and then obviously today the PS5. Yeah, I think with there being such a vast library as well, I think, you know, there was such a good choice of games and different ones. I love racing games as well. I love like rally games, and I know the McRae Rally games on the PS2 were good as well.
That's right.
I did enjoy them. But to be fair, it's from actually being a gamer on the PS2. Like I said, I kind of blinkered to all first-person shooters. It's only really since I've kind of switched and become a collector. You know, a collector of PS2 that I've seen now how diverse the game range is.
Yeah.
And you know, I would like to say that, you know, I collect PS2 for the love of the PS2. I do, but
yeah,
I've got to be honest. I when I first started collecting for PlayStation 2, I thought it was a cheap collection to go for. Naively. And
there's no cheap collection to go for. Nothing. There is that doesn't exist anymore. It hasn't existed for quite some time. I mean, I can see what you're saying, because there are a lot of cheap games for it.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of expensive games for it as well.
Yeah.
If you're going for a full set, and then there's obscure, you know, RPGs and anime titles, those are the ones that are going to set you back a few quid, aren't they? You know.
I never once researched it, I'll be honest. I just like, there's tons of PS2 games in shops. They're all cheap. I'll go for that. You know, and like I said, I mean, there's Eddie has taught me. Eddie has taught me quite a lot. But, you know, there's no going back now.
You're too far in, aren't you?
I'm way too far in. I'm not even halfway there yet, but I do consider myself too far in to just give it up. Certainly, I'm not going to give it up anyway.
Just for those who are interested, how many games are there in the PlayStation 2 collection that you've got to get?
There's around
altogether
2,500.
Yeah. That's not many then. 2,500.
And I believe I've got about between 1,100 and 1,200. I haven't had a recent count up, so
that's not bad going. That
no. So I'm nearly halfway there.
Yeah,
but not quite.
Do you think you'll get all the way there?
No, I don't. No, I mean it's. I'll collect. You know. Well, as long as
far as you can get to, get as far as you can get with it, yeah.
But yeah, I really deep down I know there's. The trouble is, even now there's some games which are really expensive, and I think would I even pay for it now? Let alone in, you know, say 10 years down the line, I still haven't got them games. what price are they going to be then? And there's probably no chance of getting them. So
very true.
It's just, but we always say it, don't we? It's the thrill of the chase. It's the thrill of finding new games that you haven't got. I'm not. Do you know what? I'm not overly fussed about getting the full set. I enjoy collecting for PS2, and as it's not a cliche, but as long as I enjoy doing that, then that's good enough for me. I couldn't care less about bragging about a full set. If ever I did get one, it wouldn't interest me. In fact, I'd probably be quite sad because it's the end of your journey, isn't it?
Yeah, I agree, because you get to a certain point when you are collecting for a system, and then you realise you've done quite well really, really quickly.
Yeah.
And then you actually realise the task in hand, and then what's involved in doing it. So it's a great thrill up to a certain point, and then it then becomes like you're trying to climb a hill.
Yeah.
And it's still fascinating trying to find them out, but you're finding it less and less.
Less and less.
Or if you do find them, they're costing more and more.
Yeah.
And you can't get as many as you used to.
No.
You can't just walk into somewhere and like a load of games that cost £1, so you can walk in and spend whatever it is. But then you walk in and you've got all those, and then the only ones you can buy cost what you used to spend on just one game.
Yeah.
So instead of coming out with a bucket full of games, you're coming out with two. And then that's where the whole thing slows down. So you might go from 0 to 500 really, really quickly, but then you'll find that once you get to 1,000, the next 100 are going to take you a lot longer to get, and then it gets slower and slower and slower and slower.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. I suppose it's like anybody collecting its squads. I can imagine the frustration of trying to get those last 2 or 3.
But it's interesting because you just end up accumulating them. I don't know what it is. I was surprised how many I've accumulated now on the Spectrum.
Yeah.
Thanks to Sega Zombie, I think I bought pretty much all his entire collection off him this year that he was trying to sell off. But I'm happy I got them. But I didn't realise I bought that many. I sort of thinking I had a few, and all of a sudden I've got now 54. And you're thinking, well, hang on a second, how many were there all together? Were there 100? Well, I'm halfway. Do I carry on? I think with the 64, I'm up to about 45.
Oh yeah. God.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, do I carry on with those or not? I don't know. I should hope not. It's another headache I don't need at the moment.
That's true. It's funny because, like my Silverbird, I've got the full set, and sometimes I do think, that's a shame now. All right, I've got other subsets I'm collecting for, like the alternative software, and I'm really enjoying collecting for them. As I said,
that's because you're not playing them. If you were playing them at the same time, you'd really regret it. And again, anybody who doesn't know, alternative software, again, one of these software houses that existed in the 8-bit days and some 16-bit stuff, and they weren't very good either.
Churned out drivel.
Yes, they're absolute drivel. Yeah.
But like I said in our WhatsApp group, I think Eddie posted something, didn't he, that he'd got, and you're like, I'm really excited that I've got this. And I said, it's surprising what we all get excited about. I've just picked up an alternative software game, Flunky, I think it is. Flunky.
Was it Mad Flunky? You said it was.
Mad Flunky, that's it.
Was that the? I know Flunky was a game, but was Mad Flunky the sequel or something?
I honestly don't know. I don't know.
Because when you posted it, I thought, I didn't think it was that rare. I'm pretty sure I've got that somewhere. But then,
have you?
Yeah, I've got it. I know I've got it somewhere. I'm not sure whether there was 2 games on it or not.
I mean, I'm saying it's rare. It's just because it's first time it's ever come up on my search since I've been collecting alternatives. So I'm like, well, I'm going to grab this. But yeah, I'm enjoying collecting for the alternative because, like I said, there's always new editions that I can get excited about. And that's same with PS2. there's this, I mean, I have a long way to go, but that's good because there's always something that I can get excited about or picking up. But yeah, I don't know, full sets. I don't know. Don't get me wrong, it's nice to be able to say, yeah, I've got a full PS2 set, but that's like I said, that's when the journey ends, and then what?
Yeah, then what
I know you move on to something else, but I don't know. I mean, how long would I have been collecting PS2 if I get a full set all my life, and then it just suddenly stops? I don't know. I'd be quite sad.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. Yeah. It does come like that, and
yeah.
It's what you would collect for then. That's the other thing. Like, what would what you turn your attention to after that?
That's it.
Because if that takes you another, I don't know, 5 years to do or something, 5 years' time, the whole collecting spectrum has changed again.
Yeah.
And then you'll find that everything you might want to do has now become even more expensive, possibly. I don't know. It's one of them. It's a pitfall to doing it.
It is. You see, I collect all my collections. I've got a love for them. I don't just collect for collecting's sake. Yeah. I have actually got a love for all my collection that either, nostalgic or purely because I loved, the system or the certain games or whatever. My reasoning behind it is I'll collect for something that I really, excuse me, really want to, that means something to me. So
yeah, no, that's the right way to do it. I think it's the way to do it. Okay, so after PlayStation 2, progression to PlayStation 3.
PlayStation 3, yeah. Not massively, not massive variety really on PlayStation 3. Again, mainly first-person shooters, and swiftly moving on, but pretty much same again with PS4. Got to be honest, I haven't played many games on PS4 other than first-person shooters.
Yeah.
In fact, I tell a lie as such. Because of the PlayStation Now, that's the only time I've actually been playing, games of a different genre.
Mm-hmm.
But I've got to be honest, I haven't really found anything that's really enticed me in and held me there. Sadly, I kind of have a few goes and then that's it.
Yeah. And of course with PlayStation 5 now as well, aren't you? So
yeah.
And
I've only used my PS5 for one thing.
Well, two things. You play Fall Guys as well.
Yeah,
don't forget.
Fall Guys as well. Yeah.
which, in all honesty, you could probably run on a PlayStation 3. It's not exactly technically requires a PlayStation 5 to play on, but
that is true.
we have some fun on that, don't we? We do.
Oh, we do.
That's opened my eye. I mean, in a way, PlayStation 4 playing that online with you and Al and Paul and whoever else we can rope in who's better than us playing it. Everybody, as in everybody else who plays it. It's sort of it's rekindled a little bit of interest in me in playing modern games and that whole playing games with other people. Yes, we might not be in the same room together, but it's only the same as if we were all in the same room playing it sat next to each other on the sofa. And honestly, it is great fun. We've had some hilarious moments on that, haven't we? We really have. It's been good fun. We've got to do that again soon. Let's do a Christmas one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, let's do one of those. Okay, so that's sort of your system history. Before we go back to your game list and towards the end, just a couple of things on that. Obviously, people listening very, very closely, intently will realise. Hang on a second. There's no Nintendo consoles on this list. And there's also no Microsoft consoles on this list. Now, without going into giving too much detail about it, just I know we've had a discussion about this recently, probably on one of the podcasts where we've talked about the 64, the Saturn, and the PlayStation 1, and then you also mentioned that you're not a Nintendo fan. Why were none of these consoles part of your history? So we're talking Xbox and any of the Nintendo branded ones.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, from obviously like the NES, and I didn't even really know about it at the time. Never really heard anything about it. I didn't know anybody with a NES. It were all Sega Master System or the other systems, but not Nintendo. And it kind of, I just never really took an interest in them because they were never really there. As daft as it sounds, even up, to the SNES, I never really owned a Mega Drive really through those times. It's only really, I'd say, in last 10 years or so, they've actually really, picked up a Mega Drive or whatever and give it a go. I can only say, really, I haven't really got an hatred for Nintendo. I mean, I sometimes say it, but I am genuinely only joking. I have no hatred for Nintendo. It's just that they just passed me by. They really did, and it's same with Microsoft systems. All right, yeah, I could say I'm a Sony fanboy, but I have owned Xbox systems. I've got an original Xbox. I've got an Xbox 360. Well, I've got a couple actually. But the thing is, for me, certainly from like the 360 and onwards, it's kind of because I've always gone Sony and I always looked at them as pretty much the same. 360 and the PS3, they're pretty much the same. The graphics look exactly the same. Your purists might say, well, Xbox 360 runs at so many millibits a second faster or whatever, and I'm like, well, means nothing to me.
Exactly.
And that's fair enough if they, if that's how pure they want to be with stats and that, fair enough. But I'm not into that, and to me they just look the same. And my love for Sony obviously favoured that console. Same with the PS4 and the Xbox One. It was a case of, they look exactly the same. I'll stick with Sony. It's what I know best. I know each system, and even down to going back to Nintendo, they've got certain exclusives and that. But yeah, it's just never.
That's fair enough. I mean, it's. I just say, look, I thought that was just an interesting question to ask. That's all. I'm not trying to put you on the spot or anything.
No.
To why you do it. Yeah.
I have owned an NES and SNES in recent years. I ended up selling them to Nath Retro One, mainly due to my collection evolving and having to make space. They were systems that, in my opinion, were just taking up space that I could use for my other collections. So that's kind of what happened. But yeah.
No, that's fair enough, mate. That's fair enough. Right then, so let's get back to your gaming history.
Yep.
So we still got your game, your Desert Island
games.
I forgot what I'm doing there. Sorry, it's too enough of these things. I'm quite unsure where I'm going now. We've still got 3 games to discuss. Also, still to come the second chance game and to finish on the hated game. So go back to your gaming history. Let's pick the oldest game that we had left on that Desert Island list.
So,
and I think this is PlayStation 2,
PlayStation 1.
PlayStation 1. Okay, yep.
Yeah. I think it was anyway. I'm sure it was.
I'm trying to remember myself now. I'm sure did this one crop up before? I'm just wondering. Yes. Our good friend. I'll tell you about it in a second. But go on. Your fourth game.
Fourth game is Buster Move 2,
which was picked by a very good friend, Pete Fighter 2.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, he did pick that one as well. But he went for the arcade version, I think.
Oh, right.
Yeah. I think he did. I wrote the word arcade next to it. I could be
Right.
wrong. I'm sure you'll correct us if that was the case.
But,
Yeah.
it's such an entertaining game. It's very addictive, very addictive. And it's one of those puzzle games where you've got several avenues that you can take. Each avenue offering a different or a more challenging route, and it's just so much fun. Does anybody need to know exactly what kind of game it is? I'm sure we've all
we've all played
what
it.
it is.
I'm sure we have,
But,
haven't we? I mean, it's
basically it's matching bubbles, using Bub and Bob characters from Bubble Bobble. It's a lot of fun in 2-player mode. It's got a great 2-player mode, but I spent more time on the story mode on that game. Like I said, I don't know how you obviously you start on one level and then it branches. You can take left or right, and then it branches again.
Yeah.
And like I say, you can go for hours and hours trying each avenue, and it's just great fun. I just think it's an absolutely cracking game. It's not overly complicated in terms of flashy graphics or anything. It don't need to be, does it?
No.
A puzzle game. And
well,
I've
think about Tetris. I mean, how simple that is when you look at that.
Yeah,
it's exactly the same
exactly.
thing.
I've got to admit, sometimes I rely on those little dotted lines to help me out.
Oh, yeah, you need those. And unless you're a physician who knows exactly the pinpoint accuracy of where the angle's got to be, somebody's just stabbing around in the dark usually.
Yeah. Sometimes I'm like, oh, please give me them dot lines. I might have to lose a life actually to get it. But yeah, it's a skill game, isn't it?
Yeah.
A bit of luck, I suppose, involved in it, but
goes back to what you said earlier. 100 games that you have to play. I mean, this is there are some great puzzle games out there. There are some really good ones. We mentioned Tetris. That's probably the king of the puzzle games. It is.
Yeah.
But this one is right up there. This one is right up there, and there've been so many different versions of it as well. And I think if you type "Bust a Move" in on Google, it would chuck you up a version you could play without needing to download anything or subscribe to anything. It's just there. You just go and play it, and it's a simple, straightforward game. And again, we said right at the very start, those are the games that work best. It doesn't have to look great. It's just addictive and keep you going back for playing more and more and more.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
that's what you want.
I mean, I'm pretty sure when I first saw it, I thought, no, it's a kid's game. Not bothered in that, but it's not. It's really it is, obviously kids can play it, but it's just as challenging for an ardent gamer. I'd say the later levels, obviously they start coming, the lines start coming down faster. Starts making the old sweat start trickling out a bit more when them lines are getting really close to the bottom.
That's it. Make you work for it. Put a bit of pressure on. That's the way it is. But it adds to it, doesn't it? It adds the tension. It builds.
It does.
The fact that game makes you feel that way, that you feel the tension of it, and the sweat starts appearing on the brow and under the armpits. And all that, Yeah, it is a great game, and like I said, it's got to be right up there with the great puzzle games that have ever been sort of formulated. And there are so many different versions for it as well. You said Bust a Move 2. I mean, there've been other ones after it as well. So it's a variation on the old bubble shooter game. I mean, one of my favourite things to do sometimes is just play bubble shooter on PC or on a tablet. You just type that in and you just do that same thing. You just you've got a bubble colour, you pop it, and then you move on to the next one, and the next one, and the next one, and then it's So simple, but
simple,
so
but
addictive.
addictive.
Yeah,
It is.
that's it.
Yeah.
Okay. Next game
Yeah.
on your desert island list.
Right.
Gone.
I'll go the modernist first
Okay.
because I think that'll lead me nicely on to my last choice.
Okie doke.
So this will come as no surprise at all. Where I'm gonna go for Call of Duty Warzone. Don't get me wrong, I love the COD series. I haven't played every single one of them. And contrary to belief, I'm not actually that much of an expert on COD. I'm actually quite new to COD.
You are. This obsession
Yeah,
has only become fairly recent, hasn't it?
it has really, yeah. From the Modern Warfare, only the other year, basically it was Joel that got me into the multiplayer online, and we used to play multiplayer, both of us on same TV, split screen, and absolutely loved it. And we were both quite nervous at first because we were both, well, there'll be other players who's really good on our team, and we're going to be newbies, and we're going to let them down, and we were a bit nervous about that. But to be honest, it don't really matter. Nobody really takes notice about how rubbish you are if you're a newbie, and we really enjoyed it. But I must admit, the split screen was starting to do me head in, and I'll tell you what, I'll get my own setup. You can have that telly all to yourself. I said, I'll set my other PS4 up on here because we were PS4 at the time. And that's what I've done. So in my old pickup videos, the telly you see in the background is the one I use at my computer desk. And then what happened was they released Activision released Warzone, which is Call of Duty's own battle royale. And it's strange because in Warzone you've got two modes of game. You've got battle royale and you have plunder. Now, plunder is basically you drop into the map, the same map as battle royale, and you loot as much money as you can. That is the aim of the game. Now you can die as many times as needed, and you'll just drop straight back in to carry on looting. The winner is who gets the most money, not the kills. Battle Royale, obviously, people's played Fortnite and PUBG and all that will know the premise of it. It's the last man standing or last team standing. It's much more intense. And a little known fact is I hated Battle Royale to start with. I would not play it. I'd play Plunder all day long. And again, it was Joe. She was like, why aren't you playing Battle Royale? I don't like it. I can't do it. I don't know. I don't understand it. She says, well, you haven't given it a chance. And we started playing Battle Royale duos. So, and that's where the love for it grew. Me and Joe, we many games, never got a win, and it just grew on me. And I won't lie, I am kind of addicted to it.
Really? You'd never have known.
You would have never noticed, would you?
Never have got it, yeah.
I don't know what it is. Right?
But in your own words, it goes to show you don't have to be particularly good at something to enjoy it.
No.
In your own words, the fact this game is on your top 6 list, goes to show that.
Exactly. It's the amount of games we've played or I've played, and unless you come first, any other position is insignificant. But, so whether I've come last, I have come last I've got shot straight out of the sky as you're dropping in, and then I've lost my gulag. So, and seriously, I've been the first to die and lose the game, or whether you come second, it makes no difference. But the amount of times we've done that and we still keep going back, there's just something about it. And even when we got his first win, I was screaming. Honest to God, I was actually screaming, yes, yes. I bet the whole street could have heard me. It was utter joy, elation, and even now, I don't get quite like that, but there's always a little yes.
Yeah.
And I think I've had 60 wins now. Which,
oh wow, yeah.
It sounds a lot, Russ, but when I've looked at these professional streamers and that, and they've racked up 1,000 wins or whatever.
Yeah, but that's because they're playing. They play it 24 hours a day with it beamed into their eyeballs. That's what it is.
Yeah, true.
You're a working man. You have all the commitment. Yeah. So I would take 60 wins any day of the week on anything. Not let's Call of Duty Warzone, any game. They get 60 wins on it. I'll be very happy with that.
But even now, I still get a buzz from loading it up and playing it. And the game has seen many changes, some for the good, some for worse. But there's just something about the mechanics of the game, the physics of the game. It's just spot on. It really is. Don't get me wrong. There's odd times where they'll release certain guns and they're overpowered, and then it kind of spoils it a bit. But they soon sort it out, iron it out, and we're back to normal. And yeah, it's this Warzone. I've never played a game as much as I have this.
Yeah.
So that tells you something.
It does.
I know it ain't for everybody, but I just can't get enough of it. I just can't.
Well, everybody else can't see, but I can see the smile on your face when you're talking about it, so I know, how much it means to you. And I mean, you say it comes as no surprise to anybody who knows you. Yeah, it was always going to be a Call of Duty game on that list. So, but no, sometimes you least expect it, don't you? I mean, I remember when Mrs. Bear got into playing first-person shooters, and it was only because I can't remember how it came about. I think we got older. We got a copy of Modern Warfare. I can't remember how we came across a copy of Modern Warfare.
Right.
And I remember I was actually ill. I was actually ill in bed at the time. And she came up and saw where I was. I said, go and play. These playing cool. I said, go and play it online. Oh no, I don't want to do that. So look, I ain't coming down. So I'm just too ill. But go and play. And that was it. She went and played online, and that was it. She was on there all the time playing it. And, she really got into playing those games. So it's strange, isn't it? It just happens. You just end up doing it. Yeah.
It is. I honestly would never have thought I'd be playing this as much as I did. Especially Battle Royale. Like I said, originally I didn't like it. And like I said, now I just can't stop playing it.
I've downloaded.
I definitely have to take that on my desert island.
Well, I've downloaded it. I haven't actually played it yet. Because I think my username would be Easy Target. But anybody ever watched me play first person shooters will know I just stand there and shooting at stuff without trying to hide from people shooting at me. So I just got no concept of where I'm meant to be doing. And that's not just online playing, that's in any first person shooter I've ever played at all. Just sort of stood there and just let people shoot at me and not try and hide and duck and tactically annoy them. So right, so that's COD. So the last game on your desert island list. Right. This is an interesting one because I know a little bit about this one, so this is quite good.
So this is the complete opposite to Warzone in tempo. We've got Warzone. It's fast paced. And this next game, the complete opposite, and it's actually my cup of tea, as in it's a nice slow pace. I can take it at my own pace to a certain extent, but yeah, it's just, and it's No Man's Sky on. Well, I played it on the PS4. I don't know if it were released on any other systems, but it's basically a space exploration, planet exploration. You start on a planet. You have to repair a ship, which you can use to move around your planet. You can rename your planet to whatever you want. You can rename the animals, the plants. You can scan the plants and the animals. It gives you few details about what they are and stuff. You can mine, as in you've got a laser gun which mines certain elements, such as gold, plutonium, and all these elements you do need to craft certain things or make fuel, or certain things to enable you to fly off your planet into space to other planets. And that is basically the premise of the game.
That's it.
I do believe the actual aim of the game is to get to the center of the universe that you're in or something.
I don't know. I've not played it. I've watched people play it.
Have you? Yeah.
I've never actually played it myself.
But you're talking a lot of hours to do that, and then I believe it just sends you into another universe for you to do it all again. So it was, I believe it was released with a bit of controversy, wasn't it? I think it had promised a lot of things and actually delivered what they said it were going to do.
And I've heard since that came out, they obviously did some updates or patch releases or whatever, and apparently now it's a much, much better game. It's probably the game that they promised in the first place. I mean, I bought this a few months back for Mrs. Bear to play on, because she's played Fallout and stuff. I thought, well, this the open world would be quite ideal for her. And when she did play it, she was really into it. She was quite happily going around doing all the exploring, like you're saying, and it is one of those games. It's just a very relaxing experience to play it. It's a sedate pace. It's not all action, so it's not going to be for everybody. No. It is one of those games which is strangely rewarding. And an experience. Yes.
The thing is, being on a desert island, if you're there a long time, this game you could.
Well, that's it.
Easily kill days and months. Really could, because
it would be like being on a desert island, because if you're on a desert island, then you can go around naming all the trees different names and the animals on the island. It would be you could do exactly the same thing, really.
You could actually do it in real life.
You could do, yeah. You may not even need the game by that point. I don't know, but but it is good. It's a beautiful looking game as well. It really is. I think it's. I love the artwork on it, and like I said, I've not played it myself, but I've also watched Claire play it quite a lot, and it's. It seems.
It's like I said. It's a relaxing game. It's if I don't know, if you are stressed, if you've had a bad day at work, get a No Man's Sky. It'll chill you out within minutes. Like I said, as you'll say, it's not for everybody because of the pace. It can be a bit tranquil.
Yeah.
But I love it. I love, like I said, the exploration side of it, the discovering new parts of it, and it's not a game you can complete. I believe there is actually millions of galaxies to explore in the game. They're all procurely generated, obviously. But it's just a never-ending game. And it's funny because obviously when I first played it, every planet I was visiting I actually renamed from members of my family. And as I believe, they will still be on the game. So there could very well be other players coming across Margaret Hughes or Mick Hughes, Planet Mick Hughes.
Well, I tell you, if you've, I don't know if you've ever seen the channel. It's relatively new to YouTube. Sweet Radish Gaming. I don't know if
I've
you've ever
heard of
seen
it. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, and he's been playing a sort of a NASA game, and
right.
he sort of names from the missions and ships and whatever after people he knows on YouTube.
Oh,
So
yeah.
there's like the Broseb International Space Station. Mrs. Bear's been watching some of them. I'm subscribed myself, so if you haven't had a look at that one, I'd have a look at that. There's some.
Yeah.
It's so you sort of sit there and you hear a YouTuber's name, it's like what? It's really good. I think it's a good way of doing it. It's fantastic, and I plan on watching a few more of those anyway. But
Yeah.
yeah, so those are the 6 games on your desert
Yeah.
island. Then that's so it's an interesting list. You got right back to the very start of the really old stuff, and then right the way through to sort of modern games.
Yeah.
So a real variety on that one. I did think of something I was going to ask you. I can't remember what it was now. I'm sure it's related to something that I expected to see on that list but didn't turn up.
Right.
I can't remember what it was now.
Crash. Maybe.
Yes. Yeah, Crash Bandicoot. Another game which we sort of associate you with isn't on that list.
Yeah.
And it also gives away it's not going to be on the other 2 either. The other 2 games you're taking with you, the Second Chance and the Hated games. Obviously, what just very, very quickly, why no Crash Bandicoot?
I believe I would have to say they're not very long games. They're kind of quick games. And I need the actual thought of these games were games that are going to last me. I mean, all right, Space Harrier is not really like that's more nostalgia. But the rest of them are going to take me a while to achieve and complete. So I think I left Crash out just because I thought they're pretty short games. And all right,
okay.
still got replayable value.
Yeah.
But to what extent?
See that's the other very interesting point there, because when we started doing this, it was people's favourite games to take with them. I'm pretty sure it was probably Big Game Al, and I think the reason he picked his games was because if he said, if I'm going to be stuck on a desert island, then these are the ones I want to play because they're going to last me the longest. So people now come on here with are they taking their favourite games, or are they taking games because they're going to be stuck on a desert island? So if, for example, the rules were reversed and we sort of said, right, well, just take your 6 favourite games with you, would your list be different to that?
Yes, I reckon it would. Yeah,
okay.
It would.
Well, we can probably do a follow-up episode then.
Yeah.
Which is reverse the rules, but but this is the nature of the series. I don't tell people you've got to take 6 games at your favourite.
No,
I just take 6 games that you'd have on a desert island. So they can be, games like No Man's Sky, which are just forever playing on, and things like that. That's the way it is. That's how people are doing it now. So, which is good.
It is.
Right then, so we've got 2 games left. And we'll get to your hated game, which you always finish on at the end. That's the one that's going to lose you all the subscribers that you got. And immediately cause you to fall out with loads of people. But before we get there, we have a second chance game. Second chance game usually we used to be known as, we just used to say, a game that you want to play for whatever reason you want to play again. You got so far that you couldn't get any further. You're playing it and you lost interest, or you couldn't get to grips with the mechanics of it, or for whatever reason you stopped playing it. I want to go back and do it. So this game for you is?
It is, and make no mistake, I'm pronouncing this correct. It's Shenmue 3.
Shenmue 3.
Shenmue 3.
I heard somebody pronounce it differently. Somebody called it Shenmue or something like that. I thought that's interesting. I've heard that one before. Yeah.
Oh, neither have I.
We got Shenmue.
Shenmue.
Yeah. I think it's a road somewhere. It's Shenmue. Shenmue, yeah. Right, so this is the third one then.
Yeah.
Because I've recently been donated this one, so
Right.
But I'll be told I've got to play the other two first, so that's thrown me a little bit because I've only got one of them, not the other one. So, I mean, anyway, anybody who knows the podcast, listen to it. This is again like Call of Duty, a bit of a running joke, but a running theme with you. So, why this particular one?
Shenmue 1 and Shenmue 2 were brilliant masterpieces, in my opinion, for the Dreamcast. Again, we go back to, I suppose, like No Man's Sky. It's not for everybody because of the pace. Sometimes in the game, you've got to wait for shops to open. And, as daft as it sounds, you're just walking about waiting for shops to open to talk to a certain character. So, like I said, it's not for everyone, but it suited me perfectly. Yeah, the storyline is very cliche. Your father is killed by this evil guy, and you need to take revenge, and that's what the old game is about. You're trying to find the guy's called Landy, trying to hunt him down and kill him. The game consists of, like I said, a lot of exploring, talking to people. There's quick time events, and there's actual combat. It's got a mixture of it all, and the voice acting is terrible. And some people now say that the graphics are looking a bit dated. I mean, they're bound to do, but for the scale of it, I thought it was insane, and I applauded the creator, I believe Yu Suzuki. Like I say, it turned out a masterpiece in my opinion. Same with 2, which were even bigger. Shenmue 2, pretty much more of the same, but on a larger scale. And then there was a big gap, and basically Shenmue 3 didn't get released on the Dreamcast because the Dreamcast kind of failed. So us Shenmue fans, we were left in limbo for years until eventually, as people know, we finally got Shenmue 3 through, I think it was like a Kickstarter type of fundraising.
Okay.
And we finally got Shenmue 3. To be fair, I think my expectations of the game were too high. I was expecting it to be mind blowing. We were getting it on the PS4, and I fired it up. I actually got it as a Christmas present from Lorraine. She knew I'd been wanting it for ages, and she got me it. And I put about 2 hours into it, and I was devastated. I thought it was. I don't know. I thought it was bad, and I just could not get it out of my head. The disappointment, and I kind of give up on it straight away. Within 2 hours of playing the game or something like that, I thought, "No, this is rubbish." And now I've been forced into this position to revisit a game. I thought, you know what? I think Shenmue should deserve another outing. It should. I think maybe the beginning is slow. Anybody who's played it might be able to tell me more about it and say, you know what? Yeah, you're right. You need to get past this first bit, and then it opens up a bit more. Or at least that's what I would hope. The voice acting more, to me, it seemed even worse than the
it was bad
first
before.
Graphically, I know it is an improvement on the Dreamcast versions, 1 and 2. But again, I think I was expecting a lot more from, a game being on the PS4. And yeah, that's why I really need to give it another chance, I reckon. And I assume it's quite a big game. Shenmue 1 and 2, they're quite big games. They can't do them in an hour or so. So I reckon, Shenmue 3 would at least give me a good deal of time on it while I'm on this island.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good reasoning for it. Like I said, I've got it with us. I haven't played the other two.
Yeah.
I only got the second one on the Xbox anyway, so I'll have to try and find some way of.
I do agree. I
One.
think you need to play the first two first.
Yeah.
To get a feel for the storyline.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if it's a continuation, then I know what I'm doing. Yeah, that's fine. So again, no surprise to people who know that a game from that series has made it onto your list anyway. That's for sure. That's good. Right then, so we've now reached. Whoops! I dropped my pen on the floor. I've actually just realised. Obviously, people can't see because we do this audioly, but we can see each other. I just realised what's on your T-shirt.
Yeah.
It's welcome to the fact Sean is sporting a very snazzy Space Harrier T-shirt, which I've never seen before, which is really good. Is that where'd you get that from?
You know what? Have a guess. It was a Christmas present.
Oh, right.
Joe got me.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Everything I get is Christmas presents. I don't lie on myself.
That's really good, that one. You'll have to wear it on
it is.
one of your videos. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, then. So we get to the main event, the bit where you offend everybody and annoy everybody, and they'll go home going, no, they're all screaming into their cornflakes, or when they're lying in the bath, as most people do listening to this, which is really weird. Imagine people tell me they listen to this while they're lying in the bath on a Saturday morning. I keep telling them, you do realise the statistics of people actually going under, drifting off in the bath is frightening. I'm trying to think how many people I've killed who are listening to this podcast. It's rather worrying, really. Another one's died listening to you in the bath. Oh, yeah. Hello to my regular bath listeners, anyway, who are out there. I know there's quite a few of them. So the final game on your list, which I know has cropped up in conversation before. I know it's cropped up in a Second Chance, which I think was Martin, that UK gamer.
Right.
My notes are a bit spotty, but I'm pretty sure it's cropped up. Possibly on somebody else's. I know, obviously, other games in this series have done, but tell the ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, what this game is.
Well, I need to point out first that
you can't make excuses. You can't make excuses. Too late for that now. I built it up now. You've got to know what it is.
Well, firstly, I should point out that I nearly went the usual Mario kind of route, but I thought, no, I'll give Mario a break.
That's decent of you. I'm sure he appreciates it.
I would have lost a lot more subs then. But I didn't actually hate this game at one time. It's only really as time's gone on, and I've actually realised, that actually why did I enjoy it? The game is Final Fantasy VII on the PS1.
I can hear those unsubs coming now.
Yeah. Ching, ching, ching.
Yeah.
I had it on the PlayStation 1. I played it and it just never grabbed me. But the thing is, I should have known really back then that I won't like it. And the hatred has come on a lot since then, because for one, it's an RPG. I've never been able to take to an RPG. And like it's certain little things throughout the game that really annoy me, and it probably happens in other RPGs, but because this one stands out more in my mind, I'm going to pick on this one. Like the battles, you're happily walking about, and then all of a sudden it spins into a battle, and you're like, oh, I've got to fight these now, right? You get them out of the way, and you plod along a few more steps, and then it whizzes you back into another battle. And I'm like, what the hell? Just give me a break. I'm supposed to be trying to find a hidden chest somewhere along here, and you keep throwing me into battles with these damn creatures. And after a while, that really grates on me. It just seems to happen too often. Another thing that winds me up about it is it's turn-based strategy. I don't like that. I don't like having to wait for my turn.
I've always said that. If you were, God forbid, in a fight with somebody, you wouldn't take it in turns hitting each other, would you? Go on, you next. You're right. My turn now. That's why I don't. I do agree with that. Sorry, I do agree with that. Yeah.
No, it's true though. It just annoys me. And then it's the little conversations in the game. One, they just go on forever, and they don't carry on unless you click a button to carry it on. And I often go into a little world of my own, and I'll be sat there with one little speech bubble of text for about 5 minutes before I've got to move it myself.
To be fair, you like that on Fall Guys when we're sitting there waiting to press the button, say you're ready to play the next game. Oh, hang on, I'm still watching the other one. Hang on a second. I think we found the flaw there, not with the game, Sean. I think we found the flaw with you there, mate.
But it's the conversations. I just don't. I don't know if it's because it's lost in translation or what. It'll be hello, and then there's ...
Yeah, they need a bit more to it than that, don't they? It's what's known as turn-based conversation. That's what if they say something, then you have to say something.
No, it just annoys me. I mean, don't get me wrong. Graphically at the time, it was a lovely looking game. But it's just grated on me as I've got older, and the more I think about it, the more I hate it. I don't want to play it again. I have no interest in playing it again. It's even had a reboot and it like a remaster.
Yeah, that's right.
I have no interest in playing that at all. I mean, like I say, I know a lot of other games like it are exactly the same. Probably the other Final Fantasies, but it's because that's the one I've played, so that's the one I've chosen. But yeah.
Okay, yeah, well, that's fair enough. I mean, there's valid reasons on that. I'm pretty sure people are going to. Those people will disagree with you. That's the way. But then again,
diversity.
We've all got a skeleton in the closet or two like that. That's for sure, isn't it? But there we go. So we therefore close the book on your Desert Island Games journey, which has been absolutely fascinating. We've gone right the way through from early systems right there through to the current modern stuff, and we've covered a lot of genres and things like that. And it's been as always, a fascinating journey. And I hope people have enjoyed listening to it as much as I've enjoyed listening to it as well.
Yeah, I hope so. Because it's funny, I honestly thought, Russ, he's not going to get much more than an hour out of me.
Everyone says that. If I had £1 for every time somebody said that, and I've done 25 of these so far, I'd have at least 20 quid.
It's surprising.
At least. Yeah, everyone comes on saying, "Oh, I'm going to be the shortest one you'll have ever." Average length of the episode 3 hours. What will be just under now? 3 hours. There
3 hours.
Yeah. But honestly, mate, you can never tell. Yeah, it hasn't. It's rocketed by, but you can never tell how these things are going to go. Everyone says exactly the same thing. And once you start talking about something, because it's something you're interested in,
yeah.
you know, if we were on here talking about milk bottle design of the 1950s, we'd be done in 5 minutes if we were lucky. But, you know, we talk about something that is interesting to you, is interesting to me, is interesting to people who are going to listen to this. And you just carry on talking about it. And that's how it is. And, you know, there haven't been any stops or pauses or anything like that. It's flown. And it's been brilliant. And thank you for coming on and doing this. I know, like I said, we have been good friends for quite some time. We do talk quite a lot, and we obviously do the TMB stuff as well on the podcast. And but you know, it's very rare we've had a chance to sit down and talk like this, is it ever?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and I've learned a lot as well, so I've learned a bit more about you, and that's fascinating. But yes, thank you very much indeed for coming on and doing this, Sean. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah,
absolute pleasure
as well. Brilliant. Loved it.
Good. I'm really pleased to hear that. Right, so we'll wrap this up. Once again, I'll remind people that a link to Sean's channel will be in the description below. Please go across and have a look at what he's doing over there, because he's got some tremendous stuff. He's got a tremendous collection as well. And as you can tell from this conversation, he's one of the most likable people on YouTube. He really is. He's just an absolute pleasure to know. And I hope one day we'll have a proper sit down and a conversation and do that. Don't forget, there are other episodes in the archive as well. Some great YouTubers on there. Some YouTubers, not just gaming stuff. We've done a couple of sort of people who do a bit of gaming, but they do other stuff as well. So that's it. And I should have mentioned this right at the very start. If you are interested in coming on here, please do get in contact with me. My email will be in the description below. We'd love to have you on. I don't care if you've got 50 subscribers or 5,000. It really doesn't make any difference. If you've got a list of games that you want to take to Desert Island, you've got a gaming history you want to talk about, and your life in gaming and how you've got there, please do get in contact. It's always good to hear from people, and people want to come on here and do that. It'll be fascinating to have you on. Once again, my thanks to Sean at Retro Games Drive for his time, and that's it. So yeah, we'll see you again same time next week with another YouTuber, which has already been lined up. And so we'll see you for that one. In the meantime, this is the Retro Bear saying thank you once again for your company and your continued support. We will see you again very, very soon. But until then, do take care, and bye for now.